Chapter 401. Letting you watch people through the gap in the door, up on a beam. _5. Emochishin chuckled. Yang, Daming is in this business. It's just a few machines, not worth much money. You don't have to feel pressured. And Yang laughed lightly. Big brother Emo, do you realize if others heard you say this, they might kill you? What others might consider hard-to-get assets were just insignificant machines in Emochishin's eyes. He could get as many as he wanted simply by asking. Yang, accept them. Emochishin said in a somewhat pitiful tone. Are you going to reject my sincere offering? And Yang couldn't say no. She accepted them, planning to repay him in another way someday. When others in the yard learned that Emochishin had gifted Yang with large appliances as housewarming gifts, they all came out to see. This is a refrigerator? I heard that ice pops are made by refrigerators. Yes, I've heard that too. Yang, what is this? An elderly woman with white hair pointed at the washing machine and asked Yang. Yang replied with a smile. Granny-chun, this is a washing machine. Washing machine? Granny-chun wondered, what's a washing machine? Can it wash clothes automatically? Yang nodded, yes, it can. Granny-chun exclaimed in surprise. Can this small cabinet wash clothes? It doesn't even have hands. How does it wash clothes? Can clean them properly? I've lived for so long and have never seen such a thing. Yeah, I'm curious too. Can it really clean clothes? And what's this cabinet-like thing? I recognize this cabinet. I've seen it before in my cousin's place. It's like an electric fan, but it can blow out really chilly wind in the summer, the kind that makes you shiver. Cold enough to shiver? Aren't you exaggerating? Who would shiver in the summer? Everyone found it unbelievable. I'm not exaggerating, not at all. At my cousin's place, when it was 38 degrees outside, I still needed a quilt inside. What did my cousin call this thing? A window something? Oh yeah, a window unit. And Yang said, Aunt Allen is correct. This is a window unit. It has cooling effects in the summer, much better than a fan. Hearing this, everyone exclaimed about how ingenious people are these days, even inventing such high-tech stuff. Soon, Wu Daming returned with a bag full of cigarettes. Brother Liu here. Thanks. Emochishin took the bag and handed out cigarettes to the men. Watching Emochishin distributing the cigarettes among the crowd, Wu Daming felt as though he was hallucinating. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed what was happening. It was soon 11:45. There were only 15 minutes left to the auspicious time for the raising of the roof beam at noon. The raising of the beam refers to the installation of the main beam in the middle of the roof. In rural areas, there's a saying, with a roof beam, there's abundance at home. Without a beam, the livestock won't thrive. Therefore, the raising of the beam is a particularly important tradition. However, in modern times, people mostly buy homes in the city and gradually forget about this custom. Before the raising of the beam, the carpenter would paint the wooden beam red. Then 4 carpenters and a male member of the owner's family would lift the beam onto the roof together. This male member could either be the man of the house, his son, son-in-law, or grandson. If there are no men in the family, a woman could perform the task. Big brother Mo, you should join the others to lift the beam. And Yang turned to Emochishin. Me? Emochishin widened his eyes. And Yang raised an eyebrow gracefully. What? You don't want to? Of course I want to. Emochishin nodded fervently. He was just feeling unexpectedly overwhelmed because the raising of the beam is a huge deal. He didn't expect Yang would let him take part. It turned out that he held such an important place in Yang's heart. With an excited heart, Emochishin went to join the others in lifting the beam. As a series of noises sounded out, the carpenter started his chant, stairs step by step, holding a flower basket, picking a mortal peach. After the beam was installed, the carpenter began the ritual of scattering sweets on the beam and sang again, holding the sugar as white as frost from east beam scattered to the west beam. When scattered on the beam, blessed sons are born. The ends of the beams will produce scholars. Elders who pick it up will have blessings and longevity. The young who pick it up will have boys. Men who pick it up will be as strong as bulls. Women who pick it up will be as beautiful as peonies. Chapter 402, allowing you to peek at people through the door gap, up on the beam, _6. The scattering part is what people look forward to the most. Just as the singing described, the carpenter began to throw candy, peanuts, and other snacks from the roof. On the ground, adults, children, young, old, practically everyone was jostling together to grab candies. The scene was very lively, and Yang prepared over 50 pounds of candy, plus cookies, peanuts, and the likes, weighing around 70 to 80 pounds. So, practically everyone was able to get some. During this era, a typical family would prepare 4 or 5 pounds of candy at most for a rafter-raising ceremony. There were none as generous as Yang. So everyone was extraordinarily happy while grabbing candies. Everyone could grab some. Even the old woman who was hard on her feet managed to grab a whole bag. After the rafter-raising ceremony ended, it was time to eat. The lunch was splendid, with large bowls of braised pork, succulent roasted lamb legs, and savory beef stew noodles. Moreover, Yang prepared a refined gift for every guest at the table, regardless of age. Yang was no fool. Since everyone brought gifts, she couldn't let them leave empty-handed. The gifts were wrapped in a red handkerchief, with a pack of cigarettes, 18 candies, and a red envelope with 5 yuan inside. After finishing their meal, everyone didn't just rush off. Instead, they stayed to help Suehua wash the dishes and clean up. There were so many dishes. If left to Suehua and Yang alone, how long would it take them to tidy up? The more, the merrier. In a little while, they had restored the courtyard to its original state, all neat and tidy. By evening, Yang walked Mo Qishan home. "Brother Mo, you had a hard-working day." The setting sun draped the pair in golden light. The scene was as romantic as a TV drama. Mo Qishan replied casually, "Not at all. Yang, I never knew before today that a house raising could be such a lively event." Mo Qishan had never participated in a rafter-raising ceremony before. It was a pleasant first experience. Yang reached out and took Mo Qishan's hand. "Brother Mo, no matter what, I have to thank you for today." Mo Qishan tightened his grasp. With a faint smile on his lips, he said, Yang, if you really want to thank me, do it in a more practical way." Yang knew he was teasing her again and raised her eyebrows slightly. "You're thinking quite prettily, huh?" "Do you know what I'm thinking?" Mo Qishan looked down at Yang's profile. Under the setting sun, her profile seemed to glow. Her clear eyes hid constellations of stars, making people wish they could offer her everything beautiful in this world. "Wake up, stop dreaming." Yang removed her hand and pinched Mo Qishan's face. "It's daytime, not the time for dreams." Mo Qishan's face reddened from the pinch. He didn't make a sound. Only a softened smile spread across his face. "All right." Yang suddenly changed her tone. "Brother Mo, did you hire a teacher for Xiaodai yet?" "I did," Mo Qishan replied. "Also, the publishers have been contacted. They think highly of Xiaodai's writings, saying she has the potential to become a writer." Yang nodded. Xiaodai has always been smart. Yang grinned subtly. Li Xiangxian's downfall is near. It's not far now. With a curve of her lips, Yang thought deeply. When they reached the fork in the road, Mo Qishan halted. "Okay, Yang, this is far enough. Better get back now." "Okay, Brother Mo, take your time on the road. Be careful." Yang waved at Mo Qishan. After bidding Mo Qishan goodbye, Yang headed back, kicking at gravel along the road as she walked, lost in thoughts. Over at Li Xiangxian's. Since her last visit to the Mo family, Li Xiangxian's mood hadn't been good. Even though she was now Baichuan's girlfriend, the old Mr. and Mrs. Mo were not as enthusiastic as before. Moreover, the couple Mo Rongping and Xiao Jiao didn't seem fond of her. Otherwise, during the banquet, Mo Rongping and Xiao Jiao wouldn't have made her feel uncomfortable in public. "What should you do now?" Li Xianxian sat at the desk, her expression filled with worries. Even if she were a famous writer, without being able to marry into the Mo family, it would all be in vain. Becoming a famous writer could only add luster to her. After all, she was limited in the amount of work she could remember. It seemed she had to find a solution once and for all. Li Xian squinted her eyes, and a cunning idea quickly flashed through her mind. Maybe she could advance through her child. A rich family like the Mo family would certainly value their descendants. And since Baichuan is the eldest son and grandson in the family, if she were to carry Baichuan's child, the Mo family would surely welcome her with open arms. Then, she could become a truly prestigious figure. Baichuan is a responsible man, and Ai Yang is confident that as long as there's a child, Baichuan would be devoted to her and wouldn't think about that scoundrel in Ai Yang. Yes, she must have a child. With this thought, a smug smile crept onto Li Xiangxian's face. She picked up her purse, went to the pharmacy, but the first pharmacy didn't have what she wanted, so she went to the second, the third, and finally found what she wanted in the fifth. Today was the day to receive the test scores. And Ai Yang went to the city on her bike early in the morning. Because it was early, the streets were not crowded. Suddenly, a child ran onto the road. And Ai Yang's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly hit the brakes. Screech! A harsh braking sound resonated. The child seemed stunned. His face turned white in an instant, and he looked like he had forgotten how to react. "Hey kiddo, are you okay?" And Ai Yang quickly stabilized her bike, got off, and approached the child. "I'm all right." The surprised child shook his head weakly. This was a boy of about 4 or 5. Because of malnutrition, he was thin and pale. His clothes were ragged. One foot had a shoe on, the other did not. "Where are your parents, kiddo?" And Ai Yang asked next. Chapter 403. Even more beautiful than a fairy. The mother-daughter duo, who were actresses, one the little boy looked up at an Ai Yang, fear in his eyes, as if shrouded by a layer of gray. After a moment, he spoke in a tear-choked voice. "My dad is at home. Can you not look for him, please?" And Ai Yang laughed and said, "Don't worry, I won't look for him. Little one, remember to be cautious when crossing the roads. Stick to the pavements, no running. It's dangerous, understand?" The little boy nodded, his eyes welling up with tears, and Ai Yang took out some candies from her pocket. "Here, have this and stop crying. Big boys don't cry, they only shed blood." The little boy looked at the colorful candy, wiped his tears away, but didn't dare take it. There was something profoundly humbling about the gesture. "Take it. No need to be polite with me." And Ai Yang shoved the candy into the boy's hand and pocket. "By the way, what's your name?" The little boy sniffled. "I am Fua." And Ai Yang gently patted Fua's head. "Fua, I'm leaving now." Fua nodded. After Ai Yang left, Fua took a piece of candy out of his pocket. He carefully unwrapped it and put the candy in his mouth. It tasted so sweet. So sweet. "So, this is what candy tastes like." Fua held the candy wrapper up to his eyes, looking up at the sun. Through the dyed candy wrapper, the sun, the pedestrians, and the roadside scenery all turned into a rainbow of colors. After trying one piece of candy, Fua didn't dare to eat a second. Such delicious candy, his father would surely like it. Lost in his thoughts, Fua hurriedly started homewards. Fua lived in a cramped courtyard shared by 7 or 8 families. A few kids were playing hide and seek in the yard, their laughter echoing around. Fua watched from a distance, his eyes filled with longing. The wild child raised without a mother is back. Wild child, wild child. The kids hopped around Fua, teasing him. Fua lowered his head, biting his lip, and quickly walked towards his home, pushing the door to enter. The moment the door was opened, the strong smell of traditional medicine hit him. The window in the room was shut, and it was dim inside. Fua picked up a stool, stood on it, and opened the window, propping it open with a stick. The strong lights streamed in from the window, causing the man on the bed to open his eyes. Looking at the mosquito net hanging overhead, torn and worn, the man's eyes were filled with despair. He hadn't died yet. When would this kind of life end? "Dad!" Fua ran to the bed and stood on his toes to look at the man. "You little devil, why haven't you left yet?" The man's gaze suddenly turned fierce. "Dad," Fua sniffled, attempting to hold back his tears. "I have candy. Eating it will make you better." Fua took out a handful of candy from his pocket and placed them by the man's pillow. Dad, let me unwrap one for you to try. The man yelled angrily, Get out. Get the hell out of here right now. I want leave. Fua stubbornly wiped his tears away. Fua is your son. Fua is not leaving anywhere. Leave. The man closed his eyes, hiding the sorrow in them. He had to play both father and mother roles, and it hadn't been easy raising the child. How could he bear to chase Fua away? But he was helpless. Now, bedridden, he needed someone to care for him for even the simplest of tasks. Fua was only 5 years old. How could he burden his child? Even if Fua was taken away by someone else, it would be better than staying with him, a cripple. Dad, Fua sobbed, please don't drive me away. It'll be good. I won't make you angry again. He couldn't leave. If he left, what would happen to his dad? He couldn't leave his father all alone. The man let out a sigh, his eyes welling up with tears. Chokingly, he said, Go. I won't go. If I must go, we'll go together. The man suddenly opened his eyes, staring fiercely at Fua. He angrily retorted, Following me will only lead you to death. Your mother is already gone. Why won't you leave? Leave. Go far away from me, so I won't have to be annoyed by your sight. You're just like your goddamn mother, bringing bad luck. Only if you, this jinx, leaves will I have good days. While he was crying, Fua, with trembling hands, unwrapped the candy and put the red candy in the man's mouth. Dad, have a piece of candy. This candy is really sweet. I tasted it. Chapter 404. Better Looking Than a Fairy. The Mother-Daughter Duo, who act _2. A hint of sweetness spread in his mouth, and the man suddenly began to sob quietly. How useless he was. Not only was he useless, but he had also harmed such a good child. Seeing that the man's emotions were slowly stabilizing, Fua cautiously asked, Dad, can I stay now? He didn't want a good life. He just wanted to stay with his father. As long as his father was there, home was there. Even if his father was lying in bed, he was the only pillar of support in his heart. You're not leaving. The man forced out through his stiff throat. I won't chase you away anymore. Really? Fua immediately brightened up, feeling like the whole world had lit up. The man nodded. Fua extended a small pinky finger towards the man. Dad, let's make a pinky promise. The man also extended his hand to Fua. As the father and son held finger to finger, the man asked, Fua, where did you get this candy? Fua said, Dad, this candy was given to me by a very beautiful sister. She has a very pleasant voice, just like Mom in my dreams. Fua had never seen his mother, but in his imagination, his mother was supposed to be a very gentle person. Really? The man looked at Fua. Fua nodded. The man went on to say, Fua, do you remember what your father told you? Fua replied, Stealing an egg won't fill you up, but a bad reputation lasts a lifetime. The man continued, Fua, remember, no matter when, we can't do anything illegal. If you do wrong things too often, you'll face retribution. He couldn't let his son follow his old path. Fua nodded obediently. I know, Dad. I want to rest. Fua, you go out to play. The man closed his eyes. Fua picked up the worn-out medicine jar next to the bed. I'm going to boil the medicine. Wait. The man reopened his eyes. Dad, what's wrong? Fua looked back. The man continued. Take the candy with you. Fua laughed and said, Dad, I don't like sweets. He wasn't fooling anyone. He just wanted to leave the sweets for his handicapped father. The man closed his eyes in pain. How could such a sensible child have such a useless father? Take it now. The man's expression suddenly turned fierce. Or you can get the hell out of here. Fua shivered in fear, quickly came over and put the candy into his pocket. Dad, don't be angry. Don't chase me away. The man closed his eyes and began to sleep. Dad, remember to call me if you need anything. Fua quietly left the room and went to the open-air kitchen to boil the medicine. Looking at the 2 remaining packets of herbal medicine, Fua sighed. The medicine would only last for 2 more days. What to do? While boiling the medicine, Fua grabbed a small handful of coarse rice from the bottom of the rice vat and put it on a broken tile to make porridge. In a short while, the porridge was ready, The strong smell of herbal medicine was mixed with the faint aroma of rice. Fua spooned all the cooked porridge into a big bowl, dipped his finger in the bowl, smeared some rice soup around his mouth, and then carried the porridge into the room. "Dad, it's time to eat." Fua spoke gently. Although the man's legs were paralyzed, his upper body and hand were still normal. He propped up his upper body to sit up. "Why is there only one bowl?" "I have already eaten." Fua burped. "I ate 2 large bowls of porridge. If you don't believe me, check my mouth." There was indeed some rice soup around Fua's mouth. Only then did the man feel relieved and started to eat his porridge. "Dad, I'll go out now." Fua went outside, scooped up a large spoonful of cold water from the vat, and drank it all at once. Drink more water, eat a piece of candy, and you won't feel hungry. En-Yang rode her bicycle to school. Today was the day the transfer student grades were released, so the campus was crowded with people. From a distance, Han Xiaoyu saw En-Yang, who stood out from the crowd. She rushed over. En-Yang, En-Yang, Xiaoyu. En-Yang gave a slight smile. "Congratulations, En-Yang." "For what?" En-Yang looked at Han Xiaoyu with confusion. Han Xiaoyu was surprised and said, "En-Yang, you don't know yet?" "Know what?" En-Yang was even more puzzled. "First place." Han Xiaoyu excitedly said, "You got the first place." Although En-Yang had the foundation from her past life and was quite confident about this test, she really hadn't expected that she would achieve first place. Chapter 405, Better Looking Than a Fairy, the mother-daughter duo who act _3. After all, when this newcomer is examined, it's not like there's a shortage of students with excellent academic performance. "Really? Of course it's true," Han Xiaoyu continued. "Would I joke about something like this? Come on, let me take you to see." Han Xiaoyu took En-Yang to the bulletin board where the rankings were posted. A crowd of people stood in front of the board, checking their scores. "Excuse me, coming through." Han Xiaoyu managed to squeeze En-Yang into the crowd and pointed at the red list. "En-Yang, look at this." "En-Yang?" When the people around heard this, they all turned to look at En-Yang. Could this En-Yang be the one ranked first? Then, what Han Xiaoyu said next confirmed everyone's speculation. "En-Yang, I told you that you are first. You're incredibly amazing. You scored full marks in math, English, and history." The list posted not only the rankings, but individual subject scores as well. Out of a total of 650 points, En-Yang had scored a high 645 points. That was 80 points higher than the second rank. Surely, this was a score good enough to crush all the other students in the school. Although it was somewhat expected for En-Yang to get full marks in math, history, and political science, what was astonishing was that she scored full marks in English too. This was simply terrifying. En-Yang responded with a smile. "I didn't expect to do this well either. By the way, Xiaoyu, you did pretty good too." Han Xiaoyu was ranked in the top 15, only 18 points behind the second rank, which was a fairly good achievement as well. Han Xiaoyu laughed and said, "Speaking of this, I have you to thank, En-Yang. If it hadn't been for En-Yang's encouragement urging her not to be nervous that day, she wouldn't have scored so well." It must be said, meeting a good friend in life is truly important. Zhou Xiumei came to the board full of excitement. She did well this time and believed she could get a good result. Her results were indeed good, ranking 9th, placing before Han Xiaoyu. She didn't expect that the silly Han Xiaoyu would also rank 15th this time. Zhou Xiumei snorted softly. Her eyes shifted, and when she read the name at the top of the board, her expression changed instantly. En-Yang was first? It must be a case of having the same name, right? How could that infuriating tramp En-Yang possibly rank first, right? It must be a case of having the same name. Just then, Han Xiaoyu was walking towards her arm in arm with En-Yang. En-Yang. Zhou Xiumei spoke out to stop En-Yang. Since it was a case of having the same name, there was nothing she needed to be afraid of. She hadn't forgotten the bet she had made with En-Yang on the day of the exam. "What is it?" En-Yang frowned slightly at this, also recalling the bet they made that day. "Apologize to me." Zhou Xiumei crossed her arms and continued. "Not only should you apologize, but you should also admit that on that day you were pretending to know something you didn't, just to show off." Apologize? Han Xiaoyu burst into laughter. Zhou Xiumei, you must be out of your mind. You're asking a person who got full marks in math to apologize. If anyone should apologize, it should be you to Ni Yang. Not only should you apologize, but you should also admit that you were jealous of Ni Yang. The students around them were not sure what was going on. Whispering to each other, those who understood the incident that day explained it to others. Hearing this, everyone seemed to get more excited. Apologize to her? Han Xiaoyu, you're the one who's crazy. Didn't you see my rank? I'm in the 8th place. What rank could Ni Yang possibly secure? Maybe she didn't even pass the newcomer examination. Because other than the Ni Yang who topped the list, Zhou Xiumei did not find another Ni Yang. You're just 8th. Ni Yang is the 1st. Zhou Xiumei mocked. 1st? Han Xiaoyu, are you sure the Ni Yang who's 1st is the Ni Yang next to you? There are so many people with the same name. Like the Wang Chunhua ranked 7th and the Wang Chunhua ranked 46th. At these words, everyone nodded in agreement. Yes, indeed. How did they forget about people having the same names? With so many taking the newcomer's exam, the occasional occurrence of 1 or 2 people having the same name was quite normal. Ni Yang was so gorgeous, and she was even sleeping in the examination room. She just didn't seem like the sort who could come first. Seeing that everyone was supporting her, Zhou Xiumei felt even more chips in her favor at the moment. Ni Yang, apologize. Once she finished speaking, Zhou Xiumei continued. By the way, Ni Yang, I heard you're selling noodles out there. Look at you, a noodle seller. Instead of minding your real business and selling your noodles, why the heck would you take the newcomer's exam? Isn't that a waste of an examination spot? In this era, working as a self-employed individual was regarded as the least promising career, even not as respected as the beggars on the street. Chapter 406. Better Looking Than a Fairy. The mother-daughter duo who act _4. Back then, there was a term speculators used to describe sole proprietors. Among all things, only reading is noble. To these students, they disdained sole proprietors even more. Zhou Xiumei continued. Ni Yang, if you really don't want to apologize, forget it. Actually, I can understand if you don't perform well in the exam. After all, being a sole proprietor means you're up early and working late. How could you possibly focus on studying? Zhou Xiumei was extremely smug, looking at Ni Yang with the eyes of someone pitying a wretched creature. Seemingly, this was a transfer student's examination. In reality, it was a fork in the road of life. One path led to the upper class, the other to the lower class. She had already stepped foot into the upper class, while Ni Yang was destined to live in the lower class all his life. Zhou Xiumei foresaw her bright future. Just when she was about to ridicule Ni Yang some more, she saw the principal coming their way with a teacher. She achieved an outstanding result, placing 8th. Could it be that the principal came to personally congratulate her? Upon this thought, Zhou Xiumei's smugness intensified. She cast a sidelong glance at Ni Yang, gave a refined smile, and turned to greet the principal. Hello, Principal Zhao. I am Zhou Xiumei. Principal Zhao was not in the mood to deal with Zhou Xiumei for the moment. He just gave a cursory nod and went straight to Ni Yang, saying, Ni Yang, congratulations on achieving 1st place in this transfer student examination. This is your homeroom teacher, Mr. Su Yang. Upon hearing this, the smile on Zhou Xiumei's face froze. She had just mocked Ni Yang for possibly sharing the same name with a top student. Unexpectedly, reality just delivered her a resounding slap in the face. How could this be possible? How could Ni Yang be the top student? She took the exam so seriously and still only came in 8th, while Ni Yang had been sleeping during the exam. Did Principal Zhao mistake someone else for Ni Yang? Or did Ni Yang cheat? Principal Zhao, you must have mistaken someone else for Ni Yang. It's impossible that Ni Yang could be top. Principal Zhao was quite happy now and didn't notice the malice in Zhou Xiumei's assertion. He smiled and said, No mistake, the 1st place is indeed this Ni Yang. Zhou Xiumei retorted, Principal Zhao, then Ni Yang must have cheated. What did she mean by cheating? Principal Zhao didn't like this remark. The transfer students' exam papers were personally printed by him, the grade leader, and 3 other excellent teachers. The questions were selected by them personally, and definitely nobody else knew about it. During the exam, each class was supervised by 6 teachers, with an additional few patrolling outside. There was no chance for the students to cheat. Before Zhao could say anything, Teacher Su indignantly reprimanded, "Zhou Xiumei, this is a character insult to Ni Yang and to all the teachers at our school. Ni Yang did indeed rank first. So I wonder, whose work could she have copied?" Apologize to Ni Yang immediately. Upon hearing this, Zhou Zuimai's face turned pale instantly. She had indeed spoken out of turn. Ni Yang was first. Who else's work could she possibly have copied? Moreover, her words questioned not only Ni Yang, but also offended all the teachers at 3rd Middle School. After all, the fact that cheating exists in an exam indicates negligence from teachers. If the exam questions were leaked, that would indicate a lack of professional ethics. The teachers at 3rd Middle School are notoriously strict. How could they possibly commit such acts that betray the public's trust? The gazes of those around subtly shifted. They, too, had initially questioned if Ni Yang cheated. But after hearing Teacher Zu's words, they instantly came to a sudden realization. Zhou Xie bit her lip, seemingly incapable of uttering the 3 words, "I'm sorry." She didn't want to apologize to Ni Yang. She especially didn't want to apologize to a sole proprietor. Why should a sole proprietor earn the first place in a transfer student exam? This was utterly unbearable. Ni Yang slightly smiled and said to Zhou Xiumei, "If you really don't want to apologize, then I won't force it. After all, you've been busy being jealous and accusing others. Slandering people has become your habit. How could I possibly try to correct it?" Ni Yang's retorted Zhou Zuimai's mockery, tactfully giving it back to her. Though not a single harsh word was uttered, each and every one sliced to the quick. Zhou Zuimai's face turned exceedingly unsightly. In front of the principal and so many students, she lost face completely. Chapter 407, Better Looking Than a Fairy, the mother-daughter duo who act _5. As she finished speaking, Ni Yang turned to greet Principal Zhao and Teacher Su politely. Both Principal Zhao and Teacher Su nodded with satisfaction. This girl in front of them was not arrogant or impulsive. She was courteous, kind-hearted yet still sharp-edged. She wouldn't let people oppress her. Indeed, she was a well-rounded good kid. Teacher Su then said, "Ni Yang, we'll take you to our class." Ni Yang was now a member of their class. What an honor it was to be part of them. "All right," Ni Yang nodded. "Thank you, Teacher Su. Not everyone gets a one-on-one chance to be taken to class by a teacher. The rest have been allocated to different classes based on their test scores. They had to find their classrooms by themselves. Ni Yang was an exception." After greeting Han Xiaoyu, Ni Yang followed Teacher Su towards the direction of the classroom. The class that Ni Yang was in now was Class 5. Class 5 had a total of 66 students. The whole room was incredibly crowded. In front of every desk, there was a tall stack of books. The most eye-catching was the Huanggang exam paper. At this time, Huanggang exam papers were popular nationwide, comparable to the 5 years college entrance exam, 3 years simulation in the future. Everyone quieted down. Teacher Huang stepped onto the podium, tapping the ruler. The room instantly fell quiet, everyone turning to look at the podium. "Today, I want to introduce someone important to you. In the following time, she will advance and retreat with you and take the college entrance examination together. She is Ni Yang, who ranked first in our midterm exams. Ni Yang, please come in." Teacher Su looked towards the door. As he finished speaking, the faces of everyone in the class brightened up and murmurs began to fill the room. "The first place, too. That's amazing. Not only did she score an impressive 645 points, but she also got a perfect score in English. Her academic performance was so good. Wonder what she looks like in real life. Would she be very ugly?" Under the expectant gaze of the crowd, Ni Yang walked in and gracefully stood on the podium. "Hello, everyone. I'm Ni Yang, and I as the single-person slang. and yang is from the phrase, the sun on the blue field warms the jade and creates smoke. As she finished speaking, she picked up a piece of chalk from the podium and wrote 2 large characters on a blackboard. The handwritten words were beautiful, elegant yet casual, even better than the teacher's handwriting. Indeed, her handwriting was just like her. Murmurs of admiration came from the crowd. My gosh, the new girl is too beautiful. Just like a fairy from heaven. Even prettier than Chanyu. Can Chanyu compare with a celestial fairy? The celestial fairy was imagined by everyone, but Yang really existed in reality. Everyone not only could see her, but also become her classmates. The impact was completely different. As one of the main characters, Chanyu felt upset after hearing that. You guys sound as if you've really seen a fairy. Before Yang's arrival, she was the class flower of Class 5. Once Yang was there, she instantly became an ordinary girl. How could she be happy about that? Moreover, Chanyu didn't think Yang was much prettier than herself. Chanyu, are you feeling sour? Chanyu closed her Chinese book and turned to look at the boy speaking. You think you've seen a fairy before? I haven't seen a fairy, but I know the new girl is much prettier than you. Chanyu sneered. What's the use of being pretty? I heard she's just a peddler. After she goes to university, she'll be a university student. Before Zhu Yuanzhang became an emperor, he was just a beggar. What's the use of being a university student? She could even become a billion-dollar heiress in the future. At that time, she would make everyone regret their actions today. Chanyu quietly clenched her fist. After a brief introduction, Yang followed Teacher Su to his office. Teacher Su, I want to discuss something with you. Go ahead. Teacher Su really liked this student. As long as Yang's request was not too excessive, he would agree. Yang continued. Can I come to school only for exams in the future? I'd like to arrange my own time for the rest of the days. Why? Teacher Su was somewhat surprised. Yang said, Rest assured, Teacher Su, I will study diligently at home. If I don't do well in a test, I will immediately return to school. Yang's business couldn't afford a moment's neglect now, and she also planned to expand her business. If she wasted a whole year, she would miss many opportunities. Teacher Su hesitated a bit. That doesn't comply with the school rules. It didn't make sense for the student not to attend school. What if her performance drops? Chapter 408, Better Looking Than a Fairy, the mother-daughter duo who act _6. Yang smiled and said, Rules are inflexible, but people are adaptable. I promise I won't let my grades drop. After much persuasion, Teacher Su finally agreed. However, Teacher Su made Yang sign a pledge, stating that if her grades dropped, she would have to return to school immediately. Walking out of the office, Yang felt light on her feet, as if she had shed a heavy load from her shoulders. She was beautiful, and she quickly caused a sensation on the campus. That's Yang. Is it the Yang who came in first? Yes. It's her. My God, she's both talented and beautiful. Li Wei stood in the crowd, listening to the murmurs around him, and looked towards Yang. She was walking under a row of camphor trees, her silhouette as elegant as a fairy untouched by the mundane world. She came in first. Yang scored 645 points in the exam. Li Wei came third in his class in the last monthly exam, scoring only 588 points. Yang was a full 57 points ahead of him. It's as if she has already set foot in a top-tier university. Even prestigious overseas universities would invite Yang. Li Wei couldn't describe what he was feeling. He just felt extremely uncomfortable. Why hadn't Yang failed in her exam? If Yang had failed, he could have comforted her. But now, he didn't even have the confidence to strike up a conversation. Li Wei glanced at Yang, and then turned in the opposite direction. From now on, he must study harder, hoping to achieve excellent results in the college entrance exam and become the top scholar in the city. He must be stronger than Yang. Since their last meeting, persuaded by Shangwan Shi, Shangwan Dehui decided to spend some time getting to know Lin Fong. The two people arranged through the introducer to meet at a cafe tomorrow at 10 in the morning. After listening to the introducer, Lin Fong was overwhelmed with joy. Although she already knew that Shangguan de Hui had a good impression of her, she couldn't help being excited after hearing the definite answer from the introducer. That's the Shangguan family, the real wealthy family. After sending the introducer away, Lin looked at Changyu. Xiaoya, what do you think your mother should wear tomorrow? Changyu was also happy about this. Mom, it's your first date with Uncle Shangguan. It's better to dress dignified and restrained. How about this? They'll go with you to select a dress at the mall. Sound good? Lin Fong nodded. Mother and daughter ignored the cry of hunger from the storeroom, directly walked out of the house, and went to the department store to buy clothes. Eventually, Lin Fong bought a wine-red dress and a pair of high heels. It cost her 68 yuan, which was equivalent to her 2-month salary. She felt heartache when paying, but thinking that she was about to become a wealthy lady, she didn't feel anything anymore. You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. As long as she could marry into a wealthy family, not to mention 68 yuan, even if it was 680 yuan, she would be willing to spend it. After buying the clothes, the mother and daughter happily left the department store. Just as they left the front door of the mall, Lin Fong was bumped into by a raggedly dressed child. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. The child immediately apologized. You're disgusting. Stay away from me. Lin Fong pushed the child to the ground. Mom! Changyu pulled at Lin Fang's sleeve and signaled her to look ahead with her eyes. Looking around, she saw Shangguan Shi and Shangguan de Hui approaching them, arm in arm. It looked like they hadn't seen what happened just now. Lin Fang's face changed, and she quickly helped the child up and said warmly, Are you okay, dear? It's all my fault. I wasn't careful. To prevent the child from crying, Lin Fong took out a yuan and slipped it into the child's pocket, warning in a low voice, Cooperate with me, and this yuan is yours. The child felt the coin in his pocket and nodded. Then Lin Fong said, What's your name, dear? How old are you? Why are you here alone? Where are your parents? I'm Fua, 5 years old. I came out to play by myself, and my daddy is at home. They were almost out of rice at home, and Fua was trying to find something edible in the garbage bins. Those who come to the mall to shop are wealthy people, and the food they can't finish will be thrown into the garbage bin. Fua had found a lot of delicious food in the garbage bin before. Fua, what a nice name. Lin Fong continued, Your clothes are all torn. Would you like Annie to buy you a new dress? Fua was considerate and said, Thank you. Auntie, my clothes are torn, but they still can be worn. Changyu laughed and said, Fua, you don't have to be polite with my mom. She's a very kind-hearted person. If she doesn't buy you a dress, she won't be able to sleep tonight. Lin Fong led Fua by the hand into the market. Come on, Annie will buy you new clothes. After Lin Fong and Changyu left, Shangguan Shi and Shangguan de Hui came out from the corner. Shangguan Shi said, Dad, you see, Lin Annie is a nice person, right? Shangguan de Hui nodded. She seems to be a good person, but I don't know whether she put on this performance on purpose for us to see. I always feel that her daughter Chang, you seem to have noticed us. Shangguan Shi laughed and said, Dad, you're overthinking. Lin Annie is really a good person. How could she put on a show for you? Shangguan de Hui continued, Maybe I'm overthinking. Shangguan Shi held Shangguan de Hui's arm. Dad, tomorrow is your first date with Lin Annie. You need to behave well. Shall I take you to the salon to get your hair done? All right, Shangguan de Hui nodded. The father and daughter head towards the salon nearby. When the father and daughter had entered the salon, Lin Fong and Changyu came out of the back door of the mall with Fua. Lin Fong disgustedly let go of Fua's hand. Get lost. Don't let me see you again. You bring me bad luck. Fua was still in the same ragged clothes, tightly clenching the yuan in his pocket, and ran away quickly. At that time, rice was sold at 2 cents per pound. With 1 yuan, you could buy 5 pounds of rice, which would feed him and his father for more than 10 days if there were only porridge. After buying 5 pounds of rice, Fua went to the vegetable market to pick up discarded vegetable leaves. Soon, Fua had collected half a bag of vegetable leaves. Looking at these vegetable leaves, Fua revealed a satisfied smile. He was fortunate today as he hadn't run into the grandma, who usually picks up vegetable leaves too. Having so many leaves, adding to the porridge could last them half a month. Feeling more and more cheerful, Fua couldn't help taking out a candy from his pocket to reward himself. Chapter 409 Corporate Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _1 After coming out of school, Yang went to the flower and bird market. It's Tuesday today, and not many people are at the flower and bird market. This is the largest flower and bird market in Beijing, covering over 1,000 square meters with rows of stalls held up by plastic canopies. Yang approached a green plant stall, picked up a piece of water lily rhizome, and asked, "How much is this water lily, boss?" The rhizomes of water lilies are different from those of lotus. The rhizome of a lotus is edible lotus root, but the rhizome of a water lily is a tuber, much like a knotted lump of wood. "The water lilies are 5 cents each," the boss replied. Yang continued, "It'll take 10 and 12 goldfish." Seeing Yang buying so much, the green plant boss instantly became more enthusiastic. "Okay, young lady, they'll pack these up for you. Do you want anything else in addition to these?" "How much is this, Mina?" Yang noticed a bird cage hanging from the top of the canopy. Inside were 2 vivacious minas. Minas are very perceptive birds. Not only can they imitate the calls of other birds, they can also mimic simple human language. Moreover, minas can recognize their home and owner. Just like dogs, they're very loyal. The green plant boss continued, "If you really want to buy a mina, I have a young one at home. You can't really take care of the adult ones like these." "Can't really take care of" is a colloquial term, meaning it can't be fed until it becomes familiar. "Young lady, wait a moment for me. We'll fetch the young bird from inside for you to see." The green plant boss turned and went back inside. When he came back out, he was carrying a bird's nest with a young bird inside, whose feathers haven't fully grown. The young bird looked a bit ugly, opening its mouth at the sight of people, as if wanting to eat. The green plant boss picked up an insect from the side and fed it to the young bird's mouth. See, this kind of young bird is easy to feed. Speaking of minas, it's indeed better to start feeding them from when they are young. Yang went on, "How much is this young bird?" "This one is 5 yuan each. They'll throw in the nest for free." 5 yuan? At this time, a laborer's day wage is just 1 yuan. Does the boss really think she's a fool? Yang didn't say much and simply replied, "I will take it for 1 yuan." The green plant boss laughed. "Young lady, don't joke with me. I won't even be able to cover the cost if it's 1 yuan." Yang said, "Then forget it. They'll go look at other places." With that, Yang turned and walked away. The green plant boss had seen this tactic many times. He didn't believe Yang would really leave. He had been in business for many years and could tell at a glance that Yang liked the young bird. He believed that Yang would come back in about 5 minutes. It was precisely because he was sure that Yang liked this young bird so much that the green plant boss deliberately marked up the price. The green plant boss leisurely lit his air-cured tobacco, lay down in his deck chair, waiting for Yang to return. About 10 minutes later, the green plant boss saw Yang's figure again. The green plant boss immediately brightened up, sitting up from the deck chair. Just as he was about to tease Yang, he saw the water lily rhizomes and bird cage in her hands, and his smile froze on his face. Bought it already? Didn't Yang really like that young bird just now? How did she buy from other shops so quickly? The green plant boss felt bitter in his heart for a moment. He wished he could turn back time and sell it to Yang for 1 yuan. If he had sold it for 1 yuan, he could have at least earned 50 cents. With the water lilies and goldfish, he could have made around 1 yuan from this deal. Now, not only did he not make a single cent, but he was also left irritated. When Yang got home, she first settled the young mina's nest on the osmanthus tree in the yard, and then fed it a few worms. Then she took a pail and a shovel, ready to dig some river mud to plant the water lilies. It was early summer. The river was not very deep, so Yang easily dug up a large pail of river mud. Besides the river mud, Yang also picked a large rock, which can be placed in the pond for decoration. "Sister Yang, we'll help you." A few children ran over from a distance. One of them took the rock, and 2 others helped lift the pail. "Xiaohua, Penghu, Guichang, thank you." The three boys laughed and said, "Sister En-Yong, no need to be polite. En-Yong is now the most popular person among this group of children. She is pretty, and her speaking voice is pleasant. All the children like her a lot." Chapter 410, Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _2. As soon as they arrived at the Ni family's courtyard, the children dropped everything and bolted. They did this because En-Yong was just too warm-hearted. If they didn't run away quickly, En-Yong would definitely give them more candies and snacks. The kids weren't helping Sister En-Yong just for food. Though they were young, they were sensible. Looking at the children scampering away, a faint smile floated on En-Yong's face, and the sunlight shining through the leaves dappled her with a halo. If the scene had to be described in 2 phrases, they would be: the time is peaceful, life is stable. Having brought the buckets and stones into the yard, En-Yong began planting her water lilies. She poured river mud into the pond, burrowed the roots of the lilies into the muck, then filled it with water and set the goldfish in. The goldfish proved resilient. They swam happily through the pond as soon as they were put in. The pond's drainage and waste system were designed exceptionally. There was no need to worry about foul-smelling water. Now all that was left was to wait for the lily pads to sprout. Sixth sister-in-law. Wu Daming's voice called from outside. "It's here." En-Yong rolled up her sleeve and walked outside. Sixth sister-in-law. Wu Daming hopped off the farm vehicle. "I have delivered the sterilizer and the other machines. Which room do you want me to move them into?" En-Yong smiled and replied, "Move them to the new house." While building the new house, En-Yong designed 3 additional small bungalows behind it for a sterile room to make skincare products. If she was planning to expand her skincare product business, she must make it official so that her competitors would have no grounds for criticism. The market was a battlefield, and with the experience from her past life, En-Yong would not let down her guard. "All right." Wu Daming turned to look at the agricultural vehicle. "You guys come down." 3 more people hopped off the farm vehicle. Now, with Wu Daming, 4 people in total helped carry the machines into the house. The walls inside the bungalow were lime-washed, and the floors were laid with tiles of the same color. The inside looked clean and tidy. There were a total of 3 sterilizers, 1 for each room. In addition to the sterilizers, En-Yong had also requested 6 cream making and mixing machines. Wu Daming was a very responsible person. Once he had placed the machines and made sure they were powered correctly, he said goodbye to En-Yong. "Wu Daming, wait a moment." En-Yong called to him as he was about to leave. "Sixth sister-in-law, is there anything else you need?" Wu Daming curiously asked. En-Yong said, "You forgot to collect the money. How much for the machines?" Wu Daming had not expected En-Yong to be willing to pay. After all, she was now officially with Mo Chishan. A normal person would take advantage of a little favor if they could. However, it seemed En-Yong had no intention of taking advantage of him. Wu Daming hesitated for a moment, then said, "Sixth sister-in-law, wait a moment. They'll check the account book in the car." "Okay." En-Yong nodded. After a short while, Wu Daming returned inside and said, "Sixth sister-in-law, the machines net to a total of 60,000 yuan. Though 60,000 yuan was no small sum, it was a fair price for all these imported machines. Transportation was not well developed at that time, and sometimes it took a lot of effort and connections just to buy the things one wanted." En-Yong then said, "I don't have that much cash on hand right now. You give me an account number, and he'll do a bank transfer for you tomorrow." "All right." Wu Daming nodded, took a piece of paper from his pocket, and wrote down an account number for En-Yong. En-Yong slips the note into her pocket. "The latest he'll wire you is tomorrow afternoon." Wu Daming chuckled, then said, "I'm not in a hurry for the money. Wire it over whenever it is convenient for you. If there's nothing else, he'll leave now." "Hold on a moment." En-Yong went back into the house. Wu Daming did as told and waited. Shortly after, En-Yong came out with a bag. She took out 4 small packages and handed them to Wu Daming and the workers behind him. "These are the sweets we bought for the housewarming a few days ago. It's a small token of my appreciation." Wu Daming gratefully accepted them and said, "You are too kind, sixth sister-in-law. It's just a bag of candies." Wu Daming turned to the three workers behind him and said, "Why don't you thank Six Sister-in-Law?" "Thank you, Six Sister-in-Law." The three men voiced their thanks in unison. Chapter 411, Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _3. Sister Li, we'll be heading back now. All right, take care on the way and be safe. N.I. Yang escorted the four of them out. Upon getting into the car, one of the workers opened the bag of candy given by N.I. Yang and exclaimed in surprise, "Wow, Sister Li is so generous. There's not just candy in here, but cigarettes too." "Cigarettes?" The others, upon hearing this, immediately perked up. They quickly opened their bags to discover that besides candy, there was indeed a pack of cigarettes. Another worker exclaimed, "There's a red envelope. Do any of you have a red envelope?" "Seriously, there's a red envelope?" Wu Daming, who was driving, asked in disbelief. "Yes, there's a red envelope," the worker replied while opening it. "I just don't know if it's empty." One worker who had already opened theirs joyfully declared, "It's not empty. There's money in it. I have 18 yuan here. Check how much you guys have." "I also have 18 yuan." "Me too." Wu Daming pulled the car over to the side of the road and opened his own bag of candy to check. Heavens! Inside, there indeed was a red envelope and cigarettes. N.I. Yang was incredibly sensible. It wasn't surprising she could manage business so well. Yang, who was here? N.I. Suehua walked in from next door the moment Wu Daming had left. Although the new house was already built, it hadn't been finally decorated yet, so they were still temporarily living with N.I. Chang'e. "It was Wu Daming," N.I. Yang explained. "Mom, Wu Daming sent over the machines for producing skincare products. Next month, the second Ice Touch Jade Skin physical store will open. We can think about hiring a few people to manage the skincare products." Although Ice Touch Jade Skin only had one physical store, they were overwhelmed with orders, needing temporary workers for at least 15 days of the month. Once the brand store opened next month, they'd undoubtedly be even busier. Plus, N.I. Yang was planning to introduce a new product, face masks. Yang Shulin had already sent over the mask samples last month. With N.I. Yang's confirmation that there were no issues, the mask sheets would arrive in bulk at the end of the month. N.I. Suehua nodded. Yang, how many people do you think we should hire?" N.I. Yang thought for a moment. "Let's start with 5. "All right, I'll mention it in the village tomorrow. Is the wage still 35 yuan? Let's set the wage at 40 yuan. N.I. Yang continued. "Next month, it'll also raise Aunt Zhou and Aunt Wang's wages to 40 yuan. N.I. Yang was a good boss. If she could afford meat, she wouldn't let her employees have thin gruel. Every employee's support and hard work is crucial to a company's success. If the employees don't love their job, it's only a matter of time before the company goes under." What makes employees love their job? Besides a good company culture, a good salary is crucial. All people are the same. No one works for love for no reason. N.I. Yang, having started from the bottom, understood workers' psychology well. Consider a simple example. 2 best friends held the same job, but they worked at different companies. If the salary of one was a third higher than the other, one wouldn't need to guess what would happen. The one earning less would attempt to switch to the other company, while the other would stay put, work hard, and not give anyone a chance to poach her. A company that makes its employees want to quit is not a good company. N.I. Suehua never interfered in N.I. Yang's business matters. She simply nodded her head and repeated, "All right, they'll bring it up in the village tomorrow. By the way, Mom, how much aloe vera and portulaca have we harvested lately?" N.I. Yang asked. N.I. Suehua replied, "All the aloe vera and portulaca we've harvested recently have been used to make skincare products. We have no inventory left." Ice Touch Jade Skin, due to its effectiveness, had become popular all over Beijing. People from nearby cities had even heard of it and came to buy it. The number of employees at the Ice Touch Jade Skin physical store had increased from the initial 4 to 6. "No inventory left?" N.I. Yang frowned slightly. "What about the roses?" N.I. Suehua replied. "We've harvested around 50 gene of roses. They've all been made into pure rose dew and rose essential oil. After distilling rose petals, 2 products can be extracted, One is rose essential oil, and the other is pure rose dew. Approximately 0.0025 g of rose dew and 0.0002 g of essential oil can be made from a single gene of rose petals. Chapter 412, Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _4. Therefore, rose essential oil is the most expensive essential oil in the world, also known as the queen of essential oils. Rose essential oil can balance female hormonal imbalances, nourishing, relieve menstrual pain, improve menopausal discomfort, and has good effects on skincare, such as whitening and nourishing the face, promoting the breakdown of melanin, calming, reducing stress, and promoting sleep. Whether it is sold individually or added to skincare products, rose essential oil has a very good effect. Meanwhile, rose hydrosol can be used to make face masks. And Yang calculated in her mind, then said, 50 kilograms of roses can only produce 0.125 g of hydrosol and 0.001 g of essential oil, which is far from enough. Mom, tell everyone tomorrow not to grow early rice or late rice today, but instead grow roses, aloe vera, and portulaca. No matter how much they grow, I will buy it all. The villagers of Jinghua village are generally kind-hearted. They worry that buying too many aloes and roses will leave an Yang with a loss. Although growing flowers and aloe vera makes much more money than growing rice, each household only grows a small amount of them, primarily focusing on growing rice. After thinking about it, an Yang continued, if no one believes me, tell them that if they want grow these plants, then I can only buy them from other villages. In fact, collecting these goods outside is very simple. The price given by Yang is so high that as long as she opens her mouth, people will deliver goods to her doorstep. The reason why Yang chose to purchase within Jinghua village is because she wants to lead everyone to prosperity. First small money, then big money. Okay, Mom understands. Suehua replied. The next day, when Suehua mentioned this matter under the big pagoda tree in the village center, everyone looked surprised. Yang's mom, are you serious? You're not joking with us? According to what Yang said before, aloe 1 cent per kilogram, portulaca 1 cent per kilogram, rose 2 cents per kilogram. If they planted these crops on all their land, they would earn at least 1 to 2,000 yuan a year. What does earning 1 or 2,000 yuan a year mean? You have to know, at this time the monthly rent is only about 10 yuan. Ordinary farmers can earn at most 1 or 200 yuan a year by farming. This is no different from getting rich overnight. And Suehua said very seriously, what's there to joke about such a thing? This is exactly what Yang said. And she also said that if you all don't grow these crops, she can only go to other villages to buy them. How can they let other villages take advantage of such a good opportunity? Plant. We will plant when we go back. Our family was planning to sow rice seedlings tomorrow. Since you said so, Yang's mom, I will plant aloe vera when I go back. Then my family will grow more roses and portulaca. Yang really is our village's lucky star. Ever since she came to the village, our lives have been getting better and better, and we have more hope for the future. Yang's mom, you must have earned a lot of good karma in your previous life to have such a good daughter like Yang in this life. Hearing the praises for Yang and Suehua, as a mother, was also happy. Yang is now handling the remittance procedure for Wu Daming in the bank. This era is different from future ones. In the future, remittances can be handled in 3 seconds by just transferring an account on your mobile phone. But in this era, you need to personally go to the bank counter to handle it and compare various pieces of information. It can't be done without 2 hours. Yang had been sitting at the counter for more than an hour, and only half of the procedures had been completed. Yang couldn't leave and couldn't do anything else while sitting here, so she bowed her head and wrote a corporate planning book on the counter. When her information is needed for verification, the bank teller can just call her. Miss N.I. The teller's voice echoed in the air again. Yang looked up and saw a handsome face. This is Shangwan Su. Where did the female teller just go? Shangwan Su seemed to see Yang's confusion, smiled, and explained, "My colleague needed to go out for a while, so she asked me to cover for her on the counter." And I Yang nodded. Mr. Shangguan is a good leader. It is not easy for a bank president to do this. Shangguan Su modestly said, "I'm just a nominal leader. By the way, is the recipient called Wu Daming? Is a residential address at 399 Shihai Road?" "Yes." "Direct remittance of 60,000 yuan?" Shangguan Su asked again. "Yes." And I Yang nodded. Chapter 413, Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _5. There are 2 remittance forms in total. Do you need a copy of the form mailed to the recipient? And I Yang replied, "Send it over." After all, 60,000 yuan wasn't a small amount, and without a mobile phone to receive payment information in those days. "Okay." Shangguan Su gave an I the remittance form. "Sign here." And I Yang took up the pen and swiftly signed her name. Her signature retained the style from her previous life, with a hint of cursive script, but she wouldn't make it difficult for people to recognize. Shangguan Su took the signed remittance form, and a look of admiration appeared in his eyes. The handwriting was simply too beautiful. It didn't seem like it came from the hand of a girl. Instead, it seemed like it was written by a boy, exuding an air of grandeur. During those days, women received a lower level of education on average. Most people who came to the bank would choose to use a thumbprint for identification, and some people's handwriting was crooked even when they wrote their own names. People like Enai Yang were really too rare. No doubt, Enai Yang really surprised him. Shangguan Su tore off the duplicated remittance form and handed it to Enai Yang. "Miss Enai, the money has been remitted. The recipient will receive it within 2 working days. We will be mailing the other copy of the remittance form later this evening." "Okay, thank you." Enai Yang expressed her gratitude politely. Shangguan Su gave a light smile. "You're welcome. It's what we should be doing." After Enai Yang left, the staff whispered amongst themselves, "Do you think our bank manager has taken a shine to Miss Enai?" Falling for Miss Enai isn't surprising at all. She's so beautiful and so rich. What exactly does Miss Enai do? How is she so rich? Miss Enai is the owner of New York Milk Tea Shop and Sour Fish Noodle Restaurant. Really? Of course it's true. Last time I went to buy milk tea, I saw Miss Enai helping out in the milk tea shop with my own eyes. A tall, attractive female employee came over, laughing and saying, "Our bank manager is from a wealthy family, a true blue blood. It wouldn't be possible for a sole proprietor like her to reach his level, right?" Indeed. How could they forget that? No matter how rich or beautiful Enai Yang was, she was ultimately just a sole proprietor. Enai Yang parked her bicycle in front of a traditional Chinese medicine store. The moment she entered the main entrance of the medicine store, she saw the boss grabbing a child by the ear and cursing as he came out, "Little beast, a bastard born without a mother. You dare to steal from me. If it happens again, they'll teach you what 8-2 tastes like." The phrase 8-2 was a popular euphemism for being put in jail during that time. The child immediately knelt on the ground, holding onto the boss' leg, and pleaded, "Please help my dad, boss. He's really ill. I only have one father. He cannot die, please. I'm bowing to you. As long as you agree to save my father, I can be your servant." If his father weren't so sick, he wouldn't have risked stealing the medicine. "Get lost. Get out of here. I'm not a charity. People die every day in this world. If I were to save everyone, could I handle it?" The store owner kicked the boy away. His words were realistic but also cruel. Enai Yang went over and helped the child up. "Are you all right?" Upon looking, Enai Yang was taken aback. Wasn't this the young boy Fua she met last time? Fua. Fua recognized the lady who had given him candy that day. "Sister." "Fua, what happened to you?" Fua, holding back tears, said, "Sister, my dad is very sick. Can you save him? Please." The compassionate nature of a doctor would not allow Enai Yang to ignore such a plea. "Where do you live? Take me to see your father." Upon hearing this, Fua, seeing the last glimmer of hope, his downcast eyes suddenly filled up with hope. "Sister, my home is at 15 Walt Road." Enai Yang followed by asking, can you tell me what condition your father is in now? Although Fua was young, he was able to describe his father's condition simply. And Yang preliminarily discerned that it was an infection caused by a leg injury. She entered the medicine store to buy some emergency aid medicine, then rode her bike together with Fua back to his home. It was still the same crowded courtyard. Chapter 414, Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _6. There were several children playing with mud in the courtyard. They wanted to tease Fua when they saw him approaching, but stopped at the sight of Yang, who was walking beside him. Children are often afraid of strangers, after all. Sister, my dad stays here. Fua pushed open the room door. The room was dimly lit, and one could scarcely see a person lying on the bed. Fua swiftly got up with a stool and opened the window. Yang walked to the bedside, seemed to tug at the man's eyelids a little, then sat down to take his pulse. The room was dirty and messy, and it was filled with an unpleasant smell. But Yang didn't seem to mind. Looking at Yang, Fua's voice trembled a bit as he asked, Sister, can my dad still be saved? His father has been running a high fever since midnight yesterday and hadn't had anything to eat or drink since. Your father will be fine. Don't worry. Yang's voice was soft and gentle, carrying a calming influence like a spring breeze in April. Feeling reassured, Fua asked, Really? Yang nodded, Absolutely. The man was not severely injured. His legs were initially paralyzed from a fracture, but this condition became progressively worse due to lack of prompt treatment and eventually led to a coma. Another reason was the environment. Living conditions here were very poor. The bedding was moldy and the furniture was covered with dust. Such conditions were conducive to bacterial growth. Yang gave the man a pill to reduce his fever and inflammation, then said, Fua, can you wait for me here? I'm going out for a while. Okay, Fua nodded. About half an hour later, Yang returned with a brand new bedsheet and a bag of herbal medicine. 5 minutes later, 2 middle-aged women arrived as well. The sudden arrival of strangers made Fua a bit nervous. Yang explained, Don't be scared, Fua. These 2 Annies are here to help clean up. The 2 women were diligent. After greeting Yang, they began to clean. Yang then asked, Fua, could you heat a bath for me? Sure, Fua nodded. I'm on it. Helping out made Fua very happy. Shortly after, Fua came back in and said, Sister, your bath water is ready. Yang removed a bag of herbal medicine and handed it to Fua. Fua, pour this bag of herbal medicine into the bath. All right, Fua took it. After a while, 2 robust men came in from outside. Is Comrade Yang here? I'm here. Yang, who was giving the man an injection, responded. The 2 robust men walked into the room, hesitating. Comrade Yang, are we to bathe this fellow? Yang nodded, yes. The men looked a bit uneasy. The man on the bed was just too dirty. No words were more apt than dirty and stinky to describe the situation. Yang followed up, Don't worry, you 2. He'll pay double. The man was indeed very dirty, and if they didn't give him a good bath, it would affect his recovery from the illness. Once Yang decided to lend a hand, she would follow it through to the end. Upon hearing her words, the men immediately replied, Comrade Yang, rest assured, leave it to us. Double pay. Only a fool would refuse such an offer. Smiling, Yang thanked them. I appreciate your help. The 2 men lifted the man on the bed. May I know where the bathing place is? It's over here. Please follow me. Uncles, Fua immediately responded. Fua was not stupid. He of course knew that Sister Yang was helping them. The 2 rugged men carried the man to take a bath, while Yang helped to tidy up the room. In no time, the room was renovated. Yang picked up a few magnolia flowers from outside and put them by the windowsill, filling the air with a gentle fragrance. Yang settled the pay for the 2 middle-aged women. Both of them earned 2 yuan in total. They only worked for 2 hours. Considering the price level of this era, they profited quite a bit. When the 2 workers finished bathing, Yang also paid them 1 yuan each. Thank you, young comrade. Please think of us if you need anything done in the future, they said. Yang nodded, Certainly. After bathing, the man laid on the fresh bedding. Fua asked, "Sister, when is my dad going to wake up?" And Ayong put her hand on the man's wrist and said, "Don't be anxious, Fua. Just wait a bit more." "Okay." Fua nodded, and Ayong found 4 wooden sticks and gauze to fix the man's legs in place. "Sister, can my dad stand up again?" "Yes." Hearing this, Fua excitedly asked, "Sister, really? My dad can really stand up?" "Of course." And Ayong reassured him with a gentle nod. "Thank you, sister." "You're welcome." And Ayong patted Fua's head. "Wait a minute, sister." Fua ran into the kitchen and picked out a shriveled, rotting apple from the cupboard. He had found this apple in the trash and had kept it, planning to give it to his dad for nourishment. He hadn't expected his dad to fall into a high fever that very afternoon. Now that his sister had saved his father, he thought the apple should be given to her. Fua tiptoed and carefully picked up the apple, peeled it with a kitchen knife, scooped out the rotten parts, and then carried the apple back to the room. Fua ate all the peeled apple skin without wasting any. "Sister, this apple is for you to eat." Fua looked expectantly at Ayong. "Thank you." And Ayong accepted it and took a bite. The apple was already rotting and it did not taste very good. But for Ayong, all food was equal, and she did not want to disappoint Fua, so she finished the whole apple. At that moment, the man on the bed began to stir. "Dad!" Fua excitedly ran over. "Fua!" The man patted Fua's head, then turned and looked at Ayong with pale face. "Thank you for saving our lives. You are like our second parents." Despite being faint, he was still slightly conscious and knew that Ayong had saved him. "You're welcome. It's just what a doctor should do." And Ayong then asked, "How are you feeling now? Is your head still dizzy? Do your legs hurt?" The man responded, "My head is not dizzy, but my legs seem to hurt a bit." And Ayong told him, "Pain in the leg is a normal reaction. As long as you're not dizzy, then it's okay. The facilities are limited here, so I just gave you a simple fixation. Your injury is not very severe, so you should be fine after a few days of taking medicine." The man choked with emotion. He didn't know what to say. His voice husky, he said, "My benefactor, my name is Zhou Tianbao, and this is my son Zhou Fua. Once we get back on our feet, we will find a way to repay you." Zhou Tianbao. And Ayong slightly raised her eyebrows. If she remembered correctly, the man who fathered Li Xiangxian's illegitimate child had the same name. Was it the same person? Chapter 415. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. Undersir 1 and Ayong continued. "May I ask, where's Fua's mother?" Hearing these words, Zhou Tianbao's expression darkened for a moment. Before he responded, "She's gone." Despite public claims that Fua's mother had died, Zhou Tianbao did not want to lie in front of Ayong. "Haven't you tried searching for her?" From this, Ayong could preliminarily ascertain that Fua's mother was Li Xianxian. Zhou Tianbao replied, "The reason we came all the way to Beijing was that we heard she was here." And Ayong nodded and comforted. "I believe you will find Fua's mother." Zhou Tianbao sighed. "Now I'm just a useless man confined to a bed. Even if we found her, what could we do?" And Ayong smiled. "Rest assured, your legs will get better." Upon hearing this, Zhou Tianbao's eyes lit up. "Really? Benefactor, can I really stand again?" "Yes." And Ayong nodded confidently. "I am a doctor. I don't make baseless promises. Trust me, as long as you take your medicine on time, your legs could be better in 10 days, or at most, half a month." Possibly no one could comprehend what it feels like for someone who has been bedridden for a long time to hear these words. Tears streamed down Zhou Tianbao's face. Thank you. And Ayong laughed. "Medicine is for the benefit of the people. Precision is paramount. It's a doctor's responsibility. Don't worry about it." "Benefactor, you really are a good person." Zhou Tianbao choked up. "Fua, you must kneel and thank our benefactor." Now that his resources were minimal, all he could do was ask Fua to kneel in gratitude. They would remember Ayong's kindness forever. As Fua moved to kneel, Ayong immediately stopped him. "You don't have to do this. I would have helped regardless of who it was." As it was getting late, Enai Yang explained how Fua should prepare the medicine and what to pay attention to in his daily life, and then left their home. As Enai Yang was leaving, he gave Fua 100 yuan. Fua and Zhou Tianbao wanted to refuse because Enai Yang had already helped them so much. Not only did he treat him, buy them enough Chinese medicine and new bedding, but he also hired someone to bathe him, thoroughly cleaning their home. Since Zhou Tianbao had been paralyzed, he hadn't bathed. It may have just been his imagination, but after bathing, he felt renewed. Enai Yang said, Fua's dad, you should accept it. After all, you're still bedridden. Expenses are unavoidable. Though 100 yuan might not be much, it can resolve half a year's worth of living expenses. Once your legs are better and you're able to earn money, you can return to me then. Only then did Zhou Tianbao allow Fua to accept it. With this 100 yuan, added to the hope of standing again, Zhou Tianbao felt more hopeful about the future. Zhou Tianbao instructed Fua, Fua, you must remember this benefactor's grace for life. Without him, you wouldn't have a father now. Your mother may have given birth to you, but she did not raise you for even one day. She doesn't deserve to be a mother. You could be unfilial to your mother, but you can't be an ungrateful wretch. Fua nodded wisely. I know, Dad. At the Western restaurant, Shangguan Dehui arrived 20 minutes ahead of the agreed time. After all, this was his first date with Lin Fong, and arriving early was a basic show of respect to the woman. Where on earth was the rationale for letting a woman wait for a man? Time ticked by, and an hour passed, but Lin Fong was still not there. What was going on? Shangguan Dehui checked his watch, and a trace of impatience was visible in his eyes. Shangguan Dehui, a college professor as a side gig, despised people who couldn't be punctual, because simple actions can reflect a person's character. Punctual people are meticulous, while those with poor time management are lax, self-centered, and inconsiderate of others. Just as Shangguan Dehui was about to leave the cafe, Lin Fong finally arrived late. She apologized. I'm really sorry. I was supposed to be early, but I ran into a complication on my way here and kept you waiting. In reality, Lin Fong had purposely arrived late, wanting to test the extent of Shangguan Dehui's regard for her. It seemed that Shangguan Dehui was indeed very fond of her. After all, she was a whole 40 minutes late. If it were someone else, they would have certainly left by now. Chapter 416, A Long-Term Cinnabar Mole. The drama is really good to watch. _2. Shangguan Dehui wasn't an unreasonable man. Understanding that accidents happen, he wouldn't be unyielding. What sort of accident is it? Is everyone okay? Lin Fong replied, Everyone is fine. It's just delayed some time. I truly apologize. As long as everyone is fine. Shangguan Dehui handed the menu to Lin Fong. What do you fancy eating? Accepting the menu, Lin Fong browsed it and said, I would like a filet mignon done medium rare and a fruit salad. I will have the same as you, said Shangguan Dehui, who was not particular about Western food, as he preferred Chinese cuisine. Lin Fong, who had done ample homework before coming and even researched on Shangguan Dehui's hobbies, thus brought up something of his interest. I don't really have any specific hobbies during my free time. Besides taking care of my plants and feeding the birds, my major interest is rock climbing. A sparkle appeared in Shangguan Dehui's eyes as he laughed. I also enjoy rock climbing. Do you prefer indoor or outdoor climbing? The most crucial thing for two people to live together is to share common interests, compatible values, and ideally, same hobbies. Seeing Shangguan Dehui's reaction, Lin Fong knew her words didn't miss the mark. Both are fine for me. But outdoor climbing is more dangerous. I rarely go alone. Shangguan Dehui nodded. That's thoughtful of you. Outdoor climbing is indeed riskier. We could go together sometime. Sure, Lin Fong readily agreed. As long as you wouldn't mind me being a little clumsy. How could that be possible? Because of Lin Fang's clear attempt to concede and please, their conversation was rather smooth and pleasant. Having paid the bill, Shangguan Dehui asked, Do you mind if we pack this? Shangguan Dehui was taken aback. Lin Fong explained, We live in a place where there are many stray cats that no one wants. Seeing so much of the steak left untouched, It seems a terrible waste to just dispose of it. She was truly a kind person. Commending her inwardly, Shangwan Dehui immediately summoned the waiter to pack the leftovers. Is this enough steak? If not, I can order another serving to be packed. Lin Fong said, this is enough. If it's not, I can cook some rice back home. No need to order more. It's a bit of a waste to throw leftovers. Food does not come easy, and we should all hold a profound respect for it. Hearing her words, Shangwan Dehui gave a more approving nod. It seemed that Lin Fong was way more virtuous and good-natured beyond his imagination. Her like was hard to come by, and to meet her was indeed his fortune. People of this era were generally more innocent. Marriages were rarely practiced after a relationship of a year or two. Most people got married after a few months of knowing each other. Shangwan Dehui believed that Lin Fong was his ideal partner. At his age, Shangwan Dehui had long given up faith in love. He simply wished to find a woman who could live with him, as long as he had a companion for the future days. The waiter handed the packed steaks to Shangwan Dehui. Accepting them, Shangwan Dehui thanked him. The two of them stepped out of the restaurant together. Shangwan Dehui then said, Miss Lin, where do you live? I could drop you home. Lin Fong said, somewhat embarrassed. Wouldn't that be too much trouble? Just a simple press on the accelerator, it won't be a bother. Lin Fong nodded in agreement. Shangwan Dehui's car was an imported model, fitted with genuine leather seats. As Lin Fong sat in the passenger seat, she suppressed her inner exhilaration while discreetly observing all aspects of the car. Upon her previous research, a car like this would cost over 300,000 yuan. With her current monthly salary of 33 yuan, it would probably take her entire life to save up to that amount. Rich people were indeed rich. A simple tool for transportation was a luxury beyond reach for ordinary households. Knowing that she was soon to marry Shangwan Dehui and enjoy all of this, Lin Fong again tried to control her excitement. Noticing that Lin Fang's face was growing a little red, Shangwan Dehui asked with concern, Is the air in the car a bit stuffy? Shall I open the car window? Lin Fong nodded, It's kind of stuffy. Shangwan Dehui rolled down the car windows. The car drove along the highway and soon arrived at Lin Fang's home. As Lin Fong got out of the car, she said with restraint, My house is quite messy. I better not ask you to come in. From this, Shangwan Dehui perceived her as a reserved and conservative person who cared much about her image. He gently nodded, Then I'll be on my way. Chapter 417. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _3. Drive slowly on the road and be careful. Lin Fong instructed. I will. Shangwan Dehui nodded. After Shangwan Dehui left in his car, Lin Fong turned around and headed towards the apartment building. When she returned home, she could hear weak, desperate cries. I'm so hungry. I want to eat. I need water too. I'm thirsty. I'm dying. Someone help. The old man had not eaten or drank all day. His lips were dry and cracked. How could he not be uncomfortable? Nevertheless, Lin Fong acted as if she hadn't heard any of the cries. She went straight to her room, lied down on her bed, and began to plan her lavish life of leisure. At the Shangwan's residence. As soon as Shangwan Dehui returned home, Mrs. Shangwan asked, Dehui, how did your first date go today? How do you feel about the girl? She's someone I can live with. Shangwan Dehui answered. Old Mrs. Shangwan laughed. So, you had a good impression of her. Shangwan Dehui nodded. Hearing this, Mrs. Shangwan was very pleased. Dehui, I'm relieved to see you letting go of the past and embracing new emotions. Yet within Shangwan Dehui's heart, there was a deep, unforgettable mark. The person he couldn't forget wasn't the mother of Shangwan Su and Shangwan Shi, but a girl he had once met in the countryside when he was a young, educated youth. This is what happened. One day, when Shangwan Dehui, then a young, educated youth, was looking after a forest on the mountain, he accidentally fell into a trap set by hunters. A girl, around 16 or 17, who had been herding cattle, had saved him. To save him, the young girl accidentally hurt her ankle. Shangwan Dehui was smitten with the girl at first sight. However, in those conservative times, they parted without even knowing each other's names. After some time, Shengwan Dehui eventually learnt the young girl's name and address, but she was nowhere to be found. She had vanished. Some people said she got married, others said she moved homes. In an age where communication was not as advanced, they lost touch from there. Later on, Shengwan Dehui started searching for her everywhere. Any whispers or rumors, reliable or not, he would chase after them, only to face disappointment every time. Eventually, Shengwan Dehui returned to the city. Unable to resist his family's pressure, he was forced to marry Su Fun, the mother of Shengwan Su and Shengwan Shi. Shengwan Dehui was responsible. Once he decided to marry Su Fun, he was determined to fulfill his responsibilities as a husband. They lived a relatively loving life. Unfortunately, Su Fun passed away due to complications during childbirth after giving birth to their twins, a boy and a girl. Since then, Shengwan Dehui remained single. Now, after 20 years, Shengwan Dehui has long forgotten what the girl looked like, having only seen her once. All he remembered was that people in the village used to call her Daya. At present, Shengwan Dehui no longer harbored any hope of finding her. After all, so many years have passed. Even if he found her, what would it change? Perhaps she's now the mother of several children. It's difficult to relive the past. Some people can only live in your heart. Thinking about the past, Shengwan Dehui's face was filled with sorrow. He turned around and went to his study on the 3rd floor, starting to practice calligraphy to calm himself. And Yin was riding her bicycle in the twilight of the setting sun. The breeze blew gently, stirring her long hair into a disheveled beauty. A black Jeep slowly passed her by. The man in the driver's seat glanced at her. His usually calm eyes were suddenly agitated, as if a stone had been thrown into a still lake. Ripples instantly formed. It's her again. Yin. Mo Baichuan slowly withdrew his gaze. Yin always said she isn't interested in him. If that were truly the case, would she appear before him time and again? This woman, the mask she wears is too thick. Mo Baichuan's mouth curved into a mocking smile. He turned the steering wheel and drove towards Li Xiangxian's dormitory. It was about time to give Yin a bit of a shock. Yin is someone who needs a good shaking. Mo Baichuan's hand on the steering wheel tightened unconsciously, his knuckles turning white, veins bulging. Yin didn't go home immediately. Instead, she stopped at the vegetable market to buy groceries and flour. Upon returning home, she ran into Gooden playing with little Yin. Little Yin was growing more noticeably each day. Only 10 days ago, he was still toddling unsurely, but now he was walking sturdily. Chapter 418. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _4. Little Yin excitedly chased Gooden around the yard. Seeing Yang come back, both big and small ran over to her. Sister Yang. Sister. Little Yin spread her arms, wanting Yang to hold her. Gooden sensibly said, Sister Yang just got back from a bike ride and is tired. Little Yin, let me hold you, okay? Sure. Little Yin nodded her head. Yang chuckled as she pinched little Yun's face. Little Yin, shall we say thank you to Brother Gooden? Yi. Duo. 11-month-old little Yin was still a bit indistinct with her words. It's brother. Yang corrected. Duo. Little Yun's serious face was too cute, making her want to squeeze her cheeks. Gooden laughed, saying, Sister Yang, little Yin is so silly. Yang pinched little Yun's nose. I think she's pretty silly too. Little Yun, not even knowing the meaning of silly, started giggling happily. Sister Yang. A shout came from outside the door. Gooden's eyes lit up. It's Debeo. He grabbed little Yun and ran out the door. Debeo. Gooden. The two brothers, separated by little Yun, warmly embraced. Guobao is here. Yang said as she came out of the door. Yang Guobao raised his face and corrected. Sister Yang. How could you forget again? From now on you should call me Debeo. Yang laughed. Yes, Debeo. You guys come in and sit. They'll get you something delicious to eat. Yang Guobao and Gooden followed Yang into the house. Yang went to her room, opened her cabinet to find all the candy and dried fruit were finished, leaving only a handful of damp sunflower seeds. No more food. She had been too busy with other things these past few days and had forgotten to stock up on snacks. And Yang went out to the yard and saw Yang Guobao and Gooden playing. An idea suddenly popped in her head. She asked, "Debeo, Gooden, can you handle spicy food?" "We can." Yang Guobao and Gooden nodded. And Yang went on, "You two keep little Yin occupied in the yard. I'm going to make something delicious that you've never tasted before." A delicious treat they've never tasted before. Upon hearing this, Yang Guobao and Gooden's eyes lit up. They involuntarily swallowed hard. And Yang turned and went into the kitchen to work on it. First, she kneaded the flour into a dough and let it rise. Then she heated up a pot of rapeseed oil. When the oil was half hot, she added star anise, cassia bark, bay leaves, ginger, green onions, etc., and let it fry over low heat for about 10 minutes. Soon the air was filled with an enticing aroma. After 10 minutes, she added onions and cilantro and continued frying. 5 minutes later, she turned off the heat, covered the pot, and let it sit for another 5 minutes. Then she picked out all the spices, onions, and cilantro. Next, she drizzled the well-prepared fragrant oil on chili powder, added cumin powder, 13 spices, MSG, etc., and a bowl of spicy yet aromatic oil chili sauce was ready. After the chili oil was prepared, Yang began to roll the risen dough into a thin pancake shape. Then cut it into strips with a knife, steamed them in a pot, then lightly fried the dough strips in the pan, finally soaking the strips in the chili oil for half an hour. After half an hour, a spicy and delicious serving of spicy strips was ready. Right? The delicacy Yang made was spicy strips. Spicy strips were a snack that appeared in 1998 and completely swept the globe in 2000, with various brands competing to put it on the market. The Weilong spicy strips were the most famous and could be considered as the original spicy strips brand. Tang Priest Meat was also a popular brand of spicy strips. And Yang placed the prepared spicy strips onto the table. "Gooden, Debeo, come and try." "We're coming." Gooden and Debeo quickly ran over. Gooden picked up a strip and took a bite. The spicy strip was numbing, spicy, and even slightly sweet. It had a pleasant, chewy texture, and every bite was filled with flavor. It was addictive. The more you ate, the more you wanted. Delicious. It was so delicious. "Sister Yang, what is this? Why is it so delicious?" Yang Guobao licked every bit of the red oil off his fingers, then licked each finger individually. Gooden was so excited that he couldn't even speak, eating with his mouth full of oil. And Yang laughed. "This is called a spicy strip." "Spicy strip?" Yang Guobao continued. "Sister Yang, how is this made? I've never tasted something so delicious in my life." Chapter 419. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _5. And Yang explained. The origin of the spicy strips is Xiangnan Pingjiang. I saw the method of making it from a tree and then learned it. Yang Guobao nodded. "Sister Yang, you are truly amazing." After swallowing the spicy strips in his mouth in one breath, Gooden shouted out, "Long live Sister Yang." And Yang laughed. "I made a lot of spicy strips. You guys can invite the other kids in the village to come and eat together." "All right, we'll go invite them now." Gooden and Yang Guobao were very eager to share these delicious snacks with everyone else. In no time, they returned with more than a dozen children in tow. And Yang had made 5 big plates of spicy strips, and the children devoured them all. As a result, the already amazing sister Yang became even more amazing in the eyes of these children. By the time they finished the spicy strips, it was already evening, and Yang began to prepare dinner. Dinner was still made up of 4 dishes and a soup, focusing on dietary fiber and breast enhancement. The next day, Yang took Suehua to the city to try Japanese food. At this time, there were already 3 Japanese restaurants in the city, but Yang took Suehua to the largest one in the downtown area. This Japanese restaurant was doing quite well. It had a total of 3 floors, and the decor was very classic and romantic, making it a perfect date spot. And Yang ordered dishes such as sea urchin mixed with jellyfish, salmon sashimi, grilled eel, tempura, etc., and also ordered desserts and fruits. Little Yin was sitting on her baby chair, holding a slice of watermelon and nibbling away. The sashimi and sea urchin were raw, and Tsuehua had never tried them before and was a bit put off. She frowned and said, Yang, why do foreigners like to eat these unpalatable raw ingredients? And Yang laughed. The traditional culture in our country believes that food should be minimally processed and eaten as naturally as possible. The best flavor is found when food is closest to its natural state. Although salmon sashimi and sea urchin are raw, the grilled eel, assorted ramen, and tempura are all cooked. Try some, Mom. And Yang put a piece of grilled eel into Quihua's bowl. And Tsuehua tasted it and commented, this grilled fish is quite delicious. And Yang continued, although the sashimi is raw, the flavor isn't bad once you get used to it. And Tsuehua asked, Yang, is it very expensive to eat here? And Yang laughed, it's not too expensive. How much is this meal? And Yang thought for a moment, then said, probably more than 300 yuan. Japanese restaurants in 1984 were not cheap, especially high-class ones. When Tsuehua heard that this meal cost more than 200 yuan, she tasted the salmon sashimi again, chewed carefully, and said, it feels like eating raw fatty meat. It's too greasy and slightly fishy, not tasty. She could also tell that the portions were very small. There were only 7 or 8 slices of fish in a plate. The rest was ice and shredded radish used as garnish. And Yang picked up a piece of salmon. You can't eat it like this, Mom. You have to dip it in soy sauce and wasabi. This green thing is wasabi. And Tsuehua continued, what is wasabi? I've never even heard of it before. Wasabi is a condiment, also known as wasabi root. It's a bit spicy and is great for getting rid of the fishy taste. Try it. And Yang spoke as she placed a piece of salmon dipped in wasabi and soy sauce into Quihua's bowl. And Tsuehua tasted it and nodded. The flavor does seem to have improved quite a bit since before. After speaking, Tsuehua asked again, won't there be parasites in this raw meat? In the countryside, people were extremely hesitant to eat raw meat. If she hadn't witnessed the medium-rare steak at the Western restaurant earlier, Tsuehua would absolutely refuse to eat raw fish. And Yang explained, Mom, salmon live about 8,000 meters deep in the sea, so under normal circumstances there would be no parasites. Furthermore, before it is consumed, it is generally frozen at minus 30 degrees Celsius to kill any parasites. So even if there were any, they would be dead. You don't have to worry. 2-0, and Tsuehua nodded, finally able to relax. Halfway through the meal, Yang excused herself to go to the washroom. On her way to the washroom, Yang came across a person she found very annoying. Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan was sitting at a dining table, leisurely eating his sashimi. As a scion of a wealthy family, his dining etiquette was very distinguished. Yang withdrew her gaze, not intending to greet him, and continued towards the washroom. 2. Chapter 420. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _6. Yang saw Mo Baichuan, and of course, Mo Baichuan saw Yang as well. In fact, from the moment Yang entered the shop, Mo Baichuan had noticed her. The only reason he appeared so calm was to imply that he no longer cared about her. No matter what Yang did, he would not even bother to take an extra glance at her. He was going to make her beg him for mercy. How long could she last under his complete indifference? Mo Baichuan picked up a napkin and wiped the corners of his mouth, a mocking glint flashing in his eyes. Yang was just about to enter the restroom when she heard the faint murmur of conversation. The voices were too familiar, which made her halt unconsciously. Li Xianxian, stop right there. It was Zheng Xianjing's voice. Li Xianxian turned around and said disdainfully, Who do you think you are? Why should I stop just because you told me to? Li Xianxian. Zheng Xianjing stared at Li Xianxian, speaking in a chilly tone. I've known Brother Bai Chuan for 23 years. We were childhood friends. If you have any sense, you would stay away from Brother Bai Chuan, or else all your efforts will be wasted. She had grown up with Mo Bai Chuan. If she hadn't bet on the wrong person previously, she wouldn't have given this vile woman, Li Xianxian, a chance to take advantage. Zhang Xianjing was full of regret. She had been so foolish to believe that Mo Qishan was Mr. Mog. Li Xianxian chuckled and said, "I'm sorry, but I am currently Bai Chuan's girlfriend." Zhang Xianjing, what gives you the right to tell me this? Do you have any sense of shame left for wanting to snatch someone else's boyfriend? Zhang Xianjing was disgusting. How could she dare to provoke her, the legitimate girlfriend, so openly? I have no shame. Zhang Xianjing, visibly trembling with anger, pointed at Li Xianxian and said, "Well, I got to know Brother Bai Chuan. You were nowhere to be seen. The shameless one here is you. You stole my Brother Bai Chuan. You cheeky, vile woman." Li Xianxian responded with a broad smile, seemingly unaffected. "I could steal Bai Chuan away because Bai Chuan loves me. Why don't you ask Bai Chuan if he loves you?" Zhang Xianjing, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Has your mother never taught you how to be a decent person and only taught you how to snatch men? It would be such a waste for someone like you not to be a hooker. Her last words were clearly provocative. A hooker? What is a hooker? In Guangguan, a hooker is another name for a prostitute. Li Xianxian had the audacity to call her that. Zhang Xianjing wished she could bite Li Xianxian to death. Why wouldn't this vile woman just drop dead? But Li Xianxian was not afraid of Zhang Xianjing. To Zhang Xianjing, the most she could become was a wealthy second-generation brat. Moreover, she wasn't even a legitimate descendant of the Zheng family. The day the old Madame Zheng loses her temper, she would become nothing. She wasn't worth fearing at all. Moreover, Mo Bai Chuan was Mr. Mog. One Zheng family, let alone 100, would mean nothing in front of Mo Bai Chuan. Bitch, don't get cocky too soon. Zhang Xianjing's voice was distorted with rage. Bastard, Li Xianxian snorted dismissively. Rest assured, they'll definitely keep riding on my high horse. Bastard. Zhang Xianjing was close to blowing a fuse. Li Xianxian actually had the audacity to call her a bastard. Watching Zhang Xianjing, Li Xianxian added fuel to the fire. What are you staring at me for? Are you upset because I called you a bastard? If you're unhappy, why don't you come hit me? Right here? Li Xianxian pointed at her own face, closing in on Zhang Xianjing step by step. Zhang Xianjing genuinely didn't dare to hit her, because she knew Li Xianxian was purposely provoking her. Li Xianxian wanted Mo Bai Chuan to dislike her. She would never let this vile woman have her way. Just wait. The day would come when she would get her revenge. Zhang Xianjing clenched her fists, a malicious light lurking in the depths of her eyes. Li Xianxian continued tauntingly. Zhang Xianjing, your mother Zheng Lingling is nothing but an adopted daughter of the Zheng family. I really don't understand what you're feeling so superior about. As an adopted child, you should know your place. Otherwise, if you upset Madame Zheng one day, she may kick both you and your mother out, and then you be absolutely nothing. Zhang Xianjing looked up at Li Xianxian and said, word by word, "You cheap thing, remember what you said today." Li Xianxian chuckled. "Of course I remember. You just hit a wall, and you can't fight back. I'm not scared in the slightest." Zhang Xianjing shot a fierce glance at Li Xianxian before striding out of the restroom, Li Xianxian hot on her heels. Once the pair had left, Ai Yang emerged from behind the bathroom door, a faint smile playing on her lips. She had to admit, the information she had gathered today was quite something. Before today, she had thought that Li Xianxian and Zhang Xianjing were two peas in a pod. Now it turns out there's bad blood between them behind closed doors. And it's such an exciting confrontation that Ai Yang almost felt like applauding them. From the look of things, it seems like Zhang Xianjing had already lost the battle. So, she decided to give her a hand. A sly smile graced Ai Yang's lips. The plot was certainly getting more and more intriguing. She loved to see the dog-eat-dog world of others. Mo Bai Chuan was so vain and sentimental that if she personally got involved, he would surely think she was doing it for him. However, if Zhang Xianjing made a move, things would be completely different. That would simply be a win-win situation. When she came out of the restroom, and Yang passed by Mo Baichuan again. Mo Baichuan and Li Xianxian were sitting together. Across from them was Zhang Xianjing. To Yang's surprise, Li Xianxian and Zhang Xianjing looked as if they hadn't had a fight, acting all sisterly toward each other. Seeing this, Yang again felt the urge to applaud the two best actresses. How was it possible to act that well? Being so busy with their own drama, the two best actresses didn't notice Yang. But Mo Baichuan glanced subtly in her direction. Seeing Yang approaching, Mo Baichuan immediately picked up a piece of sashimi for Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian smiled and said, "Baichuan, Sister Xianjing is our guest. We should let her have this piece of sashimi. After all, it's the last piece left on the plate." After saying that, Li Xianxian transferred the piece of sashimi in her bowl to Zhang Xianjing's. Zhang Xianjing looked at the sashimi in the bowl, gritting her teeth in anger, but forced herself to swallow it. Li Xianxian was openly provoking her. Her meaning was clear. Only the things she didn't want to be passed on to her, just like the piece of sashimi. Zhang Xianjing said with a smile, "Thank you, Sister Xianxian. Brother Baichuan, there's a movie this afternoon. Why don't we three go and watch it together?" Li Xianxian is enjoying this, is she? Well, should make sure Li Xianxian had a miserable time. Mo Baichuan glanced at Li Xianxian and pretended to dote on her. "This is up to Xianxian." Li Xianxian gasped in surprise, then said, "I've also looked at this afternoon's movie schedule. It doesn't seem like there is anything interesting to watch." Mo Baichuan obliged her by saying, "Then we won't go." Li Xianxian looked triumphantly at Zhang Xianjing. Zhang Xianjing grimaced, "Cheap thing, don't rejoice too soon." Yang sat down at the dining table with a broad smile on her face. Little Yang greeted her excitedly. Tsuehua wondered, Yang, what good news have you come across? You have such a huge smile on your face." Chapter 4:21 Buying a Restaurant. A promising future author, one Yang, was indeed laughing very heartily. How could she not be happy after watching such a drama unfold? But in Mo Baichuan's eyes, her laughter seemed forced, because throughout the whole situation, he didn't even spare an extra glance at Yang. He treated Li Xianxian so well, and Yang must surely feel jealous. But she also desired his attention, so she was forced to put on a brave face. Thinking of this, Mo Baichuan reached out and put another piece of sushi in Li Xianxian's bowl, knowing that this would surely provoke Yang. Li Xianxian blushed slightly. "Thank you, Baichuan." Zhang Xianjing felt a mixture of emotions in her heart. It was overwhelming. If Li Xianxian hadn't butted in, the person accompanying Mo Baichuan right now would surely be her. How dare Li Xianxian, this wretched woman, act so arrogantly here? No, she must win back Mo Baichuan. Definitely. A nefarious glimmer surfaced in Zhang Xianjing's downcast eyes, but she maintained a soft smile on her face. "Mom, guess what I saw earlier?" Yang asked Tsuehua. "What did you see?" Tsuehua curiously asked. Yang took a bite of her dessert. "I saw two dogs fighting." Tsuehua gasped. "There's nothing unusual about that. Dogs fight all the time. I see it every day in the village." Yang just kept smiling, saying nothing. When they were almost done eating, Yang called the waiter to pay the bill. "Miss, that would be 318 yuan in total," the waiter announced. "All right." Yang handed over the money. Spending 318 yuan on a single meal, which equates to a common wage earner's 10-month salary, would have previously made Tsuehua feel distressed. But now, Tsuehua had grown accustomed to it. As they earned more money, they encountered different things, their living standards increased, and their perspectives widened accordingly. "Little Yun, come to sister." Yang gestured toward little Yun. "Sister." Little Yun extended her arms. Yang picked up little Yun, and Tsuehua picked up her bag, following in Yang's footsteps. Mo Baichuan's gaze unintentionally swept toward Ni Yang's side and discovered that her seat was already vacated. There was a mocking glint in his eyes. So Ni Yang couldn't sit still anymore, could she? Mo Baichuan subtly withdrew his gaze, turned to Li Xianxian. Finished eating? Let's head back once we're done. Okay. Li Xianxian nodded gently. Zheng Xianjing followed up. Brother Baichuan, where are we going this afternoon? Just as Li Xianxian thought that Mo Baichuan would certainly ask for her opinion, he responded, You guys can go out this afternoon. I have other matters to attend to. He had already provoked Ni Yang, so naturally there was no need to keep up the act with Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian was momentarily stunned, then wisely said, Work is important, Baichuan. You go ahead. It seems that Mo Baichuan doesn't like Li Xianxian as much as she thought. Zheng Xianjing quickly seized the opportunity. Brother Baichuan, I also have things to do this afternoon. Could you drop me off on your way? Sure. Mo Baichuan nodded. He and Zheng Xianjing grew up together. Their relationship was like siblings, so giving her a lift was completely normal. Thank you, Brother Baichuan. Zheng Xianjing stood up. Xianxian, we're leaving first. The word we sounded particularly irritating to Li Xianxian. How cunning of Zheng Xianjing. Li Xianxian replied with a smile. Baichuan, make sure to safely take Xianjing home. Mo Baichuan nodded in agreement. Zheng Xianjing gleefully clung to Mo Baichuan's arm. Brother Baichuan, let's go. Looking at their departing figures, a simmering rage flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes, as if she were about to burn Zheng Xianjing to ashes. It seems the plan needs to be accelerated. She must have a child to tether Mo Baichuan tightly to her. Ni Yang was out shopping with Ni Suehua, carrying little Ni Yun in her arms. As they passed by a handbag shop, Ni Yang suggested, Mom, let's go buy a bag. Ni Suehua was still using a bag made from scraps of fabric. I have a bag. We don't need to waste money. Ni Suehua refused. Ni Yang laughed and replied, Let's buy one. It's not that expensive. We spent over 300 yuan on our meal. What's a bag compared to that? Ni Suehua hesitated for a moment before finally accompanying Ni Yang into the store. At that time, big brands like LV, Versace, Gucci, and Bulgari hadn't yet penetrated the domestic market, so all the bags sold in the store were locally produced, with 2 bags being the most popular. Conveniently hung on the handlebars of a bicycle, 2 bags were both stylish and practical. Chapter 422, Buying a Restaurant. A Promising Future _2. Ni Yang picked out 2 bag styles, one in a cylindrical design and another lattice bag. The cylindrical one was for Ni Suehua, and the lattice handbag was for herself. Ni Suehua did need to carry many things when going out with the kids, so a cylindrical bag would be more convenient for her. The 2 bags cost 30 yuan. After buying the bags, Ni Yang said, Mom, let's go buy a bicycle. Ni Suehua replied, Why buy a bicycle? We already have one at home, don't we? Ni Yang continued, The bicycle is for you to ride, Mom. ITLL, make things more convenient for you when you're out. Ni Suehua always had to walk to the edge of the village and take the bus to get to the city, which took a lot of time. No need, Ni Suehua refused. I hardly go out anyway. Besides, Yun is still too little to sit on her own. Even if there were a bike, I couldn't ride it. Let's buy one anyway. Then we'll install a child seat on the back. Yun can sit there. Convinced by these words, Ni Suehua decided to follow Ni Yang and buy a bicycle. A Phoenix brand bicycle was 275 yuan. Adding a child seat, the total cost was 280 yuan. The child seat available at the time was made of woven bamboo. It was completely natural and non-polluting and was very cool to sit on in the summer. As soon as she sat on the child seat, little Ni Yun started laughing joyously. Mother and daughter were walking forward while pushing the bicycle along. When passing by a bustling commercial street, they saw a group of people discussing something. Is this restaurant about to close down? The transfer fee is 2,800 yuan? No, wait. 10,000, 48,000? Gosh, am I hallucinating? They're only selling an empty shell and still want 38,000. Has the boss gone mad? Whoever buys it is an idiot. Even 2008 is too much. And Ah Young backtracked quietly when she heard these remarks and looked at a red notice with black letters pasted on the wall. The gist of the notice was that the restaurant was facing closure due to poor management. Now, they wanted to transfer ownership. The transfer fee, together with the restaurant's property rights, was being offered for sale at 48,000 yuan. It was a 3-story small restaurant with over 1,500 square meters. 48,000 yuan was not expensive. Moreover, considering the location, it would not cost less than several hundred million yuan in the future. For a moment, Ah Young was tempted. After all, she used to be in the catering industry in her previous life. Mom, what do you think about this restaurant? Soa shook her head. Not good. It's about to go bankrupt. Ah Young smiled. Mom, when assessing a situation, we can't just look at the surface. There are many reasons why a restaurant might go bankrupt. It could be due to poor management, or it could be a problem with the taste of the food. I think the location here is good, and if it's well managed and the food tastes good, we don't have to worry about there being no business. Since it's a restaurant, the taste certainly plays a key role. As long as the taste is good and the service is up to standard, there should be no problem. In this era, people's sense of service and being served isn't strongly developed. If they can train a team to provide quality service, like Haida Leo, in the future, they can certainly stand out in this industry. As a mother knows her daughter best, Suehua quickly grasped Ah Yang's intentions. Yang, you're not thinking of buying this restaurant, are you? Yes, Ah Yang nodded. Suehua said, that's 480,000. It's a lot more than just a few hundred or a few thousand. Yang, think it through. Ah Yang replied, Mom, I've thought it through. I want to buy it. If she bought the restaurant, even if she didn't run it, she wouldn't lose anything just leaving it as it was. On the contrary, she would make a fortune. Of course, Ah Yang wanted to buy it. What's more, Ah Yang was confident she could turn the business around. This way, she could make money and see her asset appreciate. It was like hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. 480,000 was a large sum for Suehua. She expressed some concern and said, Yang, do we really have that much money? Even though she knew the milk tea shop, noodle restaurant, and skincare shop were all very profitable and making good money, Suehua had not actually worked out the figures. She did not know just how much money Yang had. Yang patted Kuihua's hand. You don't need to worry about the money. Suehua continued. Yang, the restaurant owner couldn't even make a profit before going bankrupt. Are you sure you will succeed if you take over? This is 480,000, not 48 or 4,800. Yang, our noodle restaurant, milk tea shop, and skincare shop have done very well. Maybe we should not bother with anything else? As the old saying goes, don't fuss over trifles, and you won't end up poor. We should live a steady life. We have enough money, we just need to have enough to spend. I'm content with the life we have. Chapter 423, Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _3. Perhaps it was because she had suffered many hardships in the first half of her life, but Suehua now had no great ambitions and was very content with her current situation. Mom, said Yin, a life without dreams is a life without purpose. I may be a commoner without grand dreams, but I just want to become a female tycoon and prove to the world that there's no difference between men and women. As long as one is willing to work hard, a girl can also make a name for herself. Suehua herself had lived a painful early life due to a cultural bias preferring boys over girls. So every time Yin made such a declaration, she felt a deep resonance. Girls are no different than boys. They are not handicapped or deficient in any way. Why should they receive unequal treatment? Suehua continued, I understand the principle you're talking about, but 480,000 yuan is no small sum. I hope you'll consider carefully. Yin nodded her head. Don't worry, Mom. I never take on anything if I'm not confident about it. And I never do loss-making businesses. All right. Suehua continued. You go and have a good talk with them, then. They'll take Yun and go check on our noodle restaurant. Yin was going in to discuss business. Having her child with her might be somewhat distracting, and Ni Tsuehua was not a woman without sense. Yin nodded slightly. I'll come to the noodle restaurant as soon as I'm done here. Ni Tsuehua mounted her bike and left with little Yin. Instead of going straight into the restaurant, Yin hailed a taxi. Sir, could you take me to the agricultural bank? At this point in time, taxis were a luxury, used only by a minority of people. Even Benz cars with 3 rows of seats were used as taxis. By the early 1990s, it was the heyday of cars with vanity plates and economy models. All right, the cab driver was a very talkative man. Young lady, you don't look like you're from around here. Yin nodded slightly. I'm from Haicheng. Haicheng is more than 1,000 kilometers from Beijing, isn't it? Yin said, about 1,200 kilometers or so. I've been to Haicheng before. Everything is good, but the preference for sons over daughters is too severe. The driver continued, which part of Haicheng are you from? Damn village. Yin answered truthfully. Oh. The driver nodded. A strange look flashed in his eyes, and he fell silent. In a short time, they arrived at the entrance of the agricultural bank. In order not to worry about finding a taxi later, Yin looked at the plate on the dashboard and said, Mr. Su, would you mind waiting here for me? He'll be back shortly. I'm willing to pay extra. If she was willing to pay extra, what reason did he have to refuse? Mr. Su nodded. Sure, he'll wait for you here. Thank you, Mr. Su. Yin pulled out a yuan and handed it to him. She entered the bank and requested a check from the teller. Though checks didn't become universally accepted until 2006, in Beijing in the 1980s, people could already issue checks with unlimited amounts. These checks, however, could only be used within Beijing and not elsewhere. When she exited, Mr. Su was still waiting at the door. Yin opened the car door and got inside. Mr. Su asked, Young lady, where would you like to go now? Yin answered, back to the place we just came from. All right, Mr. Su said as he started the engine and started to engage her in casual conversation. You're quite attractive, young lady. Do you have a boyfriend? If not, I can introduce you to someone. Yin replied politely, Thank you for the offer, but I already have a boyfriend. Oh, that's a shame. The young man I was going to suggest to you, his family is quite well off. By the way, do you have any sisters at home? I have one younger sister who's 11 months old. Just one sister? Mr. Su asked. Yin nodded, not saying much. Mr. Su glanced at Yin through the rearview mirror, a look of surprise flashing across his eyes. He didn't say anything else. Shortly, the car arrived at the entrance of the restaurant. Yin stepped out of the car and entered the restaurant. Watching Yin's receding figure, Mr. Su had a complex expression on his face. After a moment, he drove off. Although the restaurant was in the process of being sold, it was still in business. The waiters inside weren't very enthusiastic. Seeing Yin walk in, none of them even bothered to greet her. Yin walked up to one of them and asked, Hello, is your boss around? The waiter responded with indifference. Our boss is in the private room on the 3rd floor. Chapter 424, Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _4. Young wasn't angry, and she said, Could you take me there? Follow me. The waiter strode forward. The two of them arrived at a private room on the 3rd floor. Just as he knocked on the door, a smile appeared on the waiter's face. Boss, what can I do for you? The restaurant owner appeared to be a young man in his 20s. This lady is looking for you. The waiter took a step back. Hello. Young spoke softly. At the sight of Young, the young man blinked, then said, Hello. As Young walked in, she said, I'm here to discuss the sale of your restaurant. At that, the young man seemed taken aback. Young was thin and young. Although she was quite pretty, she didn't fit the image of a rich person. In this day and age, most of the rich were somewhat overweight. Rich people could afford to eat meat, their bellies were plump, so naturally they were fat. Someone like Young, clearly, looked like an ordinary person who couldn't even afford meat. How could she afford to buy a restaurant? The man expressed his doubts. Young knew he had apprehensions. After all, she was quite young. This is a check. Young placed a check on the table. Seeing the check for 480,000, the man expressed his confusion. Are you sure you're serious? The The young man had seen the world and knew full well that the check wasn't fake. And Yang smiled calmly. Does it look like I'm joking? Even though she was smiling, there was not a shred of joking in her words. She didn't act like a 17-year-old girl, but more like someone who had faced trials and tribulations. The young man sobered up, stood up, and pulled out a chair. Please have a seat. Thank you. And Yang sat down gracefully. Let me introduce myself. And Yang, you could just call me Xiaoni, and I will be taking over your restaurant. The young man said, Nice to meet you, Miss Anai. My name is Chun Jitsong. Chun Jitsong was 27 and a returned international student who embraced new ideas and was educated in the ways of modern schooling with no prejudice against small business owners. He studied hotel management abroad, considering his professional knowledge comprehensive. In school, he was an outstanding student, so his confidence in owning a restaurant and soaring in the industry was high. However, theoretical knowledge and practical experience turned out to be quite different. The restaurant had lost hundreds of thousands within a year. Chun Zikang's initial enthusiasm had turned into general despair. His family stopped funding the restaurant, so he had to sell it and return home to take over the family business. And Yang went straight to the point. Mr. Chun, if there aren't any issues, we can sign the contract and settle formalities now. Chun Jitsong seemed slightly nervous. Does your family know about this? The restaurant had continuously been in losses. He didn't want to deceive a minor. And Yang said with a smile, Don't worry, Mr. Chun. I'm of age. The contracts I sign are legally binding. If you're worried about the check, I can go to the bank with you for verification. Chun Jitsong continued, Do you know that my restaurant has been in the red the whole time? And Yang responded coolly, I know. Chun Jitsong was somewhat surprised. You know, and you're still willing to buy it? And Yang wasn't the first person who wanted to buy the restaurant. Before her, there had been at least 20 other people. But the first thing they did was slash the asking price. The $480,000 priced restaurant was immediately brought down to just over $100,000. However, Yang didn't seem to have any intention of negotiation. This was strange. Yang was blunt. I'm confident I can make it popular. Chun Jitsong laughed. I was just as ambitious when I started. After that, he posted a lease transfer notice. It was a sad recollection. Having had such a failed venture, Chun Jitsong had no desire to start over. He was better off inheriting the family business. And Yang asked instead, So, Mr. Chun, are you not willing to sell now? No, it's not that. Chun Jitsong continued. I just think you are rather strange. By the way, which family from Beijing do you belong to? How come I've never seen you before? Seeing Yang's indifference towards the $480,000, Chun Jitsong subconsciously thought she was from a well-off family. Chapter 425, Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _5. It was odd that Chen Jihao, who had met nearly all the socialites in Beijing the day he returned to the country, had never encountered Yang. Yang was so attractive. If he had met her, it would be impossible to forget. Yang said, I'm not from your circle. Upon hearing this, Chun Jitsong said with a surprised face, Then how come you're so wealthy? Yang gave a faint smile. Mr. Chun, do you still want to sell your restaurant? Chun Jitsong, realizing his rudeness, hurriedly said, Sell. Let me grab the contract. And then we can go to the Bureau of Industry and Commerce together. Yang nodded. Chun Jitsong took the contract and pushed it towards Yang. Yang picked up the contract without rushing to sign, but read swiftly as the turning pages rustled in the air. She was reading so quickly that Chun Jitsong thought she was just posing. Just like some young girls who like to pretend they understand when they don't, acting like they are mature. Isn't something off here? Yang set down the contract, pointing to a clause. What's the problem? Chun Jitsong asked, and Yang continued. It should specify here that the restaurant is not just being leased, it's being sold along with its property rights. Otherwise, this could easily lead to disputes later. Let me see. Hearing this, Chun Jitsong also took the contract and started to read it carefully. After a moment, he nodded and said, I apologize, Miss Anai. This is indeed an issue. They'll contact the lawyer to make adjustments. After the lawyer drafted the contract, Chen Jitsong also took a look, but he didn't notice the problem. He didn't expect that Ni Yang would spot the issue immediately. This girl was not to be underestimated. Chen Jitsong was secretly surprised. Ni Yang picked up her pen and marked the problematic area. She then said, "Don't rush to amend it. Let me read it again." "Okay." Chen Jitsong looked at Ni Yang again. His eyes filled with a hint of admiration. When she was reading the contract, her eyebrows frowned in concentration. Her lips pressed together. Her appearance was extremely attractive. No wonder they say that people are most attractive when they are serious. Chen Jitsong had seen many beautiful women at home and abroad, but he had never encountered someone like Ni Yang. Her beauty was beyond words, yet it was breathtaking. During the process of reviewing the contract, Ni Yang pointed out a few more issues. The issues seemed small, but upon careful inspection, they were quite troublesome. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Chen Jitsong said, "We won't have time to sign the contract today. I will have the lawyer revise these issues when I go back. Let's plan to meet tomorrow afternoon." "Okay." Ni Yang nodded. "See you tomorrow afternoon." "Would Miss and I like to take a tour of the restaurant?" Chen Jitsong asked. Ni Yang smiled subtly. "I'd be delighted. This way, please." Chen Jitsong led the way. Following Chen Jitsong from the restaurant's kitchen to the front hall, Ni Yang roughly understood why Chen Jitsong was losing money. It was because Chen Jitsong failed to bring out the special features of the restaurant, and his management was too by the book. The chefs he hired were all experts in making local Beijing cuisine. Beijing dwellers were tired of local dishes, and with the staff lacking service skills, business wouldn't be great. After a tour of the restaurant with Chen Jitsong, Ni Yang said her goodbyes. Chen Jitsong walked Ni Yang to the door. "Miss Ni, let's meet again tomorrow afternoon." "Okay." Ni Yang nodded. "Goodbye, Mr. Chen." "Goodbye." Watching Ni Yang's retreating figure, Chen Jitsong felt an unease in his long-settled heart, as if it had been hit by a lost deer. He hadn't felt this impulsive for many years. He suddenly felt thankful for his decision to return from studying abroad and to open a restaurant. Had he not opened a restaurant, he wouldn't have made a loss, and consequently, he wouldn't have met Ni Yang. Upon arriving at the noodle restaurant, Ni Suihua asked, "Yang Yang, how did your business negotiation go?" Ni Yang replied, "It's essentially settled. They'll be making the payment and discussing the contract tomorrow." Ni Suihua nodded. "Now that you've made a decision, I won't say much. As long as you know what you're doing." Ni Yang slipped her arm through Ni Suihua's. "Mom, don't worry. I will make sure our lives get better." In the evening, Ni Yang and Ni Suihua cycled back to Jinghua village. The first thing Ni Yang did when she got home was to feed the mina with bugs. Chapter 426, Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _6. The little guy hadn't eaten anything all day, so when he saw Ni Yang coming, he couldn't help but open his mouth eagerly. "Duo duo." Ni Yang fed it while calling the little guy's name. After feeding nearly 10 worms, the little one couldn't eat anymore, so it just kept its pair of glossy and round little eyes fixated on Ni Yang. Believing that good education starts from young, Ni Yang began to repetitively greet the little one by saying Ni Hao. Not sure whether the little bird understood or not, it clacked its beak after a while, then tucked its head under its wings. "Yang Yang." Ni Suihua's voice came from the kitchen. "Coming." Ni Yang stroked the little bird's sparse feathers, and then went for the kitchen. "Yang Yang, how do you make those spicy strips? Can you teach me?" "Of course." Ni Yang nodded and began to teach her step by step. Making spicy strips isn't actually difficult. The most important things are mastering the oil chilies and timing for dough raising. Ni Suihua is intelligent. She could already replicate the process after one teaching. The following day, around 1 in the afternoon, Ni Yang arrived at the restaurant as promised. Chen Jitsong had been waiting for quite some time. When he saw Ni Yang coming, his eyes lit up. "Miss Ni." "Mr. Chen." Ni Yang nodded, slightly in greeting. Chen Jitsong presented a contract to Ni Yang. After Ni Yang reviewed it, and confirmed that there were no issues. She signed it. Miss and I, your penmanship is quite good. Shen Jitsong praised genuinely. Thank you. After the contract was signed, they went to the agency to handle various transfer procedures and to register the property. By the time all the procedures were complete, it was evening. The golden sunshine covered the earth. Chun Jitsong handed all the keys of the restaurant to N.I. Yang. Miss and I wish you a thriving business with abundant sources of wealth. Thank you. N.I. Yang took the keys, wishing you two to find light amidst the darkness and a future full of promise. N.I. Yang didn't intend to continue serving traditional dishes, nor did she plan to maintain the decor of the restaurant, but there was still quite a lot of supplies left in the restaurant, such as grain, oil, semi-finished dishes, meat, etc. Chun Jitsong, having done business for the first time without any experience, had about 10,000 yuan's worth of supplies in stock. It would be a waste just to leave them sitting there, and they wouldn't be eaten up in a short time, so N.I. Yang decided to give them away. She decided to give them to the homeless and impoverished families. There were 50-plus waiters and 20 chefs still living in the restaurant. N.I. Yang paid everyone 2 yuan per day, asking for their help in distributing these items. Taking the opportunity of delivering food to Fua, N.I. Yang also performed a checkup for Zhou Tianbao. She found that he was recovering particularly well. In a few more days, he would be able to remove the stick from his leg and walk. The base. There weren't many classes during this period, so Li Xianxian returned to Mo Baichuan's side and continued to work as his assistant. Even though they were in a romantic relationship, apart from some public occasions, Mo Baichuan did not make any intimate moves toward Li Xianxian, not even a simple kiss or hug. Sometimes, Mo Baichuan would be so cold that it made Li Xianxian question whether they were indeed in a relationship, which made her more determined to have a child. Tonight, Li Xianxian prepared a careful candlelight dinner. With her makeup meticulously done, she sat at the dining table waiting for Mo Baichuan. After a long wait, finally, footsteps were heard outside the door. Looking up, Li Xianxian saw that it was indeed Mo Baichuan. Baichuan. Mo Baichuan slightly bowed his head as he took a seat across from Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian poured a glass of red wine for Mo Baichuan. The medium-rare Kobe steak pairs best with red wine. Baichuan, have a taste. Chapter 427, a not-to-be-missed drama. _1. The steak was personally fried by Li Xianxian. To be able to cook a master-level crispy tender steak, she had intentionally attended a culinary course in her country for over a month. The red wine was personally purchased by Li Xianxian. It had been decanted previously. You could smell the fruity taste of grapes even before it reaches your throat. It was top-notch red wine from F country. Mo Baichuan picked up his glass and took a small sip. The taste is good. It just felt a bit bitter. He didn't recall ever having this slightly bitter feeling before drinking red wine. Could there be something wrong with his taste buds? Mo Baichuan took another sip and savored it carefully. This time, he didn't get the slight bitter feeling again. Only the robust and mellow flavor that had missed was left. It must have been an illusion. Li Xianxian stole a glance at Mo Baichuan from the corner of her eye, a crafty smile hooking up at the corner of her mouth. Try the steak again. Li Xianxian stood up and switched the cut steak in front of her with Mo Baichuan's. No need. Mo Baichuan held down his plate, his tone indifferent. I can do it myself. All right. Li Xianxian sat down without feeling awkward and started to smile. Mo Baichuan was cutting the steak with his eyes down, his posture graceful. After all, he was a young master born into a wealthy family. This kind of demeanor that emanated from his bones was something ordinary people could never imitate without making a fool of themselves. Li Xianxian simply looked at him, the deep infatuation in her eyes impossible to conceal. Just thinking about how this excellent man would soon completely belong to her made Li Xianxian unable to contain her excitement once again. Baichuan, Li Xianxian took a sip of red wine and asked hesitantly, "Have you told your parents about us?" "What are you referring to?" Mo Baichuan bit into the steak, savoring it carefully. From Mo Baichuan's reaction, Li Xianxian could tell that he didn't really care about this matter. A feeling of unwillingness flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes. Just what was she in Mo Baichuan's heart? In order to reach his heart, to stand beside him, she had transformed from a naive country girl who knew nothing into someone who could please the sophisticated ladies of Beijing. No one knew how much effort she had put into this. And what about Mo Baichuan? Mo Baichuan didn't even bother to inform his parents about this important matter. The more Li Xianxian thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. Her heart was filled with an indescribable sadness, yet she managed to conceal it well, feigning shyness as she said, "I mean, our relationship." At first, Mo Baichuan was a bit taken aback. Then he said, "When the time is right, I will naturally tell them." Li Xianxian nodded, then said hesitantly, "Baichuan, I feel like your parents don't really like me." While cutting the steak, Mo Baichuan said, "My parents are very easygoing. You're overthinking." Li Xianxian didn't respond. She just poured another glass of wine for Mo Baichuan. Meanwhile, at the Zheng family's residence, the assistant was reporting Li Xianxian's whereabouts in the past few days to Zheng Xianjing. About a week ago, Li Xianxian ran around 10 pharmacies, all just to buy a specific secret potion. What kind of secret potion? Zheng Xianjing looked up at the assistant. The assistant's eyes flickered. He leaned in and whispered in Zheng Xianjing's ear. Upon hearing this, Zheng Xianjing was shocked. "Really?" The assistant nodded. "After Li Xianxian left the pharmacy, I had someone purchase an identical potion from the pharmacy. Here it is." The assistant took out a small green bottle from his pocket. Written on the bottle were the words "Spring Breeze Palace." "You're sure it's that potion?" Zheng Xianjing squinted her eyes. This Li Xianxian really had wild ambitions. To think she dared to buy even this kind of potion. Fortunately, she was prepared and had someone following Li Xianxian. "Yes," the assistant nodded. "I've already had a doctor authenticate it." "What is Li Xianxian doing now?" Zheng Xianjing asked next. The assistant continued. "Tonight, Li Xianxian invited Mr. Mo for a dinner." "What?" Zheng Xianjing abruptly stood up from her chair. "How could you tell something so important only now? You incompetent." She bought that kind of potion in one breath and invited Mo Baichuan for dinner in the other. Even a fool would know Li Xianxian was up to no good. She was utterly shameless. Enraged, Zheng Xianjing stormed out, fearing that every second wasted, Li Xianxian and Mo Baichuan would become a fait accompli. After a few steps, Zheng Xianjing broke her stride. "Where are they having dinner?" The assistant responded, "At Li Xianxian's residence." The moment the assistant's words echoed, Zheng Xianjing had already disappeared from sight. Chapter 428, A Not-to-Be-Missed Drama. _2. She was too eager. She was dying to expose Li Xianxian's ugly facade to Mo Baichuan. And finally, she was given this chance to pay back for the insults Li Xianxian has thrown at her in the Japanese restaurant the other day. Zheng Xianjing was now both anxious and delighted. On the way down the stairs, she wasn't paying attention and bumped into a person. A ghost. Zheng Suyu made a scared gesture and ran upstairs, not daring to look back. If it were usual, Zheng Xianjing would definitely have taken this opportunity to teach Zheng Suyu a lesson in private. But today, she had no time to deal with a lunatic. Zheng Xianjing didn't even have time to call her driver. She quickly grabbed her car keys and left. She drove recklessly, eventually arriving at Li Xianxian's residence in the base. The base had tight security, but Zheng Xianjing's face was her pass. After all, she grew up with Mo Baichuan, so she had been to the base hundreds, if not thousands of times. Zheng Xianjing parked her car under Li Xianxian's apartment building, then climbed up to the second floor. The door was not locked from the inside, so Zheng Xianjing opened it in one push. The two inside, having a drink, were startled by this sudden interruption. Mo Baichuan was fairly calm, while Li Xianxian became so spooked that she turned pale and her voice was trembling. "Sister Xianjing is here. What are you afraid of now that I'm here?" Nothing is more frightening than having a guilty conscience. Li Xianxian was reacting way too strangely, making Zhang Xianjing even more convinced that something had been added to the wine. I am not afraid. Li Xianxian forced a grin, put down her wine glass. Sister Xianjing, please have a seat. I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't prepare a set of tableware for you. I hope you don't mind. Zhang Xianjing didn't accommodate her at all. She walked up to the table, picked up Mo Baichuan's wine glass, and took a sniff. Brother Baichuan, you can't drink this. Sister Xianjing, this wine is a pale purple from F country. Why can't I drink it? Li Xianxian had calmed down a lot now and stood up to retrieve the wine glass from Zhang Xianjing, but was skillfully avoided. Mo Baichuan looked at the two in confusion. Zhang Xianjing sneered. Li Xianxian, stop acting innocent. Do you not know what you've done wrong? Li Xianxian shook her head helplessly. Sister Xianjing, what on earth are you talking about? I don't understand. Zhang Xianjing looked at Li Xianxian with a mocking face. Li Xianxian, can you stop pretending to be innocent? Sooner or later, your deeds will be exposed. Stop acting. Li Xianxian turned pale and was so frightened that she even started tearing up. Sister Xianjing, if you have anything to say, just say it directly. I really don't understand how I offended you. Why are you targeting me every time? If I really did something wrong, I'm willing to apologize to you. I'm sorry, Sister Xianjing, I was wrong. At her words, Mo Baichuan turned to look at Zhang Xianjing, studying her more closely. From the moment she entered the room, Zhang Xianjing was accusatory, while Li Xianxian remained weak and understanding. Even though Zhang Xianjing's accusations had become very harsh, Li Xianxian chose to swallow her pride and apologize to Zhang Xianjing. Could an ordinary person have this kind of magnanimity? Perhaps Li Xianxian was really a rare good girl, and he shouldn't have started dating her just to stir up jealousy in Anyang. That would be using her. With this thought, Mo Baichuan was filled with guilt. It was he who had wronged Li Xianxian. Xianjing, you've gone too far. Mo Baichuan frowned slightly. Li Xianxian managed to hide a smile. In her previous life, she was well-versed in human psychology. She knew that the defender always had the advantage. As long as she took the initiative to apologize, even if she was in the wrong, she would appear right. You think you can outsmart me, Zhang Xianxian? You're too naive. Brother Baichuan, Zhang Xianjing turned to Mo Baichuan and said, Li Xianxian put an aphrodisiac in this wine. She's trying to trap you. You mustn't be fooled by this wicked woman. Aphrodisiac? Upon hearing this, Mo Baichuan's face instantly changed. No wonder he thought there was something different about the taste of the wine today. So was drugged. Zhang Xianjing continued to speak. Li Xianxian, how can you be so shameless? You even stooped to doing such a filthy thing. I really didn't. Li Xianxian immediately burst into tears, her voice choked. She didn't know what to say anymore. She just kept clutching Mo Baichuan's sleeve. Chapter 429, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _3. Mo Baichuan, with a cold face, said, Li Xianxian, you've really disappointed me. Baichuan, you've misunderstood me. I didn't use that kind of drug, Li Xianxian cried, her tears streaking through her makeup. It broke Mo Baichuan's heart to see her like this. After all, he had known Li Xianxian for more than 2 years. She had always been good to him, and even published a book this year. Would Li Xianxian ever do something like drugging someone? Whether or not you've used a drug, wouldn't going to the doctor's office confirm it. Li Xianxian, are you willing to go? Zhang Xianjing demanded fiercely. Baichuan, don't you trust me? Li Xianxian looked up at Mo Baichuan, her almond-shaped eyes red and swollen. Mo Baichuan looked at Li Xianxian, wavering in his resolve. Brother Baichuan, Zhang Xianjing quickly countered, be calm. Don't be fooled by this woman. By the way, Brother Baichuan, did you drink the wine? If you did drink, there's no way you wouldn't react. Mo Baichuan hadn't realized until Zhang Xianjing mentioned it, but he began to feel a heat rising from his lower abdomen. Mo Baichuan grabbed Li Xianxian's arm. Come with me to the doctor's office. Zhang Xianjing held the wine glass, her eyes gleaming with malicious pleasure. I didn't use that kind of drug. Li Xianxian cried out indignantly, exclaiming, I want go. Zhang Xianjing scoffed. The innocent are always without fear. If you're innocent, why are you afraid to go? Baichuan, I haven't. I really haven't. Believe me. Li Xianxian pleaded with teary eyes, directing her plaintive gaze at Mo Baichuan. This will affect my reputation for life. I hope you consider it all very carefully. Let's go. Mo Baichuan had completely lost trust in Li Xianxian, as his feeling of warmth had only gotten stronger. It was strange. He even felt like he was breaking into a sweat. Mo Baichuan pulled Li Xianxian all the way to the doctor's office, while Zhang Xianjing followed, grinning triumphantly. The doctor in the office was a high school classmate of Mo Baichuan's, named Yin Xiaocheng. Mo Baichuan took the wine glass from Zhang Xianjing and handed it to Yin Xiaocheng. Help me verify if there's anything wrong with this wine. Without asking any further questions, Yin Xiaocheng accepted the glass and retired into the lab. Wait for me for 10 minutes. Li Xianxian watched as the lab door shut, her face a complex mix of emotions. Zhang Xianjing looked at Li Xianxian's despair with a gratified smile. Who would have thought the impressive Li Xianxian would be reduced to this? After 10 minutes, the lab door reopened. Yin Xiaocheng, in his full lab gown, walked out. The smug look on Zhang Xianjing's face was brighter than ever. Mo Baichuan rushed up to him immediately. So, how was it? Yin Xiaocheng removed his mask. Nothing is wrong with the wine, but how about you too? What is the problem? The wine is okay. Zhang Xianjing's face changed instantly. She blurted out, Brother Yin, are you sure you were correct? How could the wine be fine? Li Xianxian definitely drugged the wine. Ah, Yin Xiaocheng said with sudden realization. You're talking about that kind of drug. I told you there's a drug. Zhang Xianjing sighed in relief. Yin Xiaocheng asked, puzzled. What's wrong with the drug? Is there a problem? Mo Baichuan cleared his throat, speaking softly. Can we talk privately? After all, he thought, being drugged wasn't something to be proud of. After hearing the full story, Yin Xiaocheng laughed. The feeling of warmth, sweating, these are normal symptoms from taking a stomach medicine. Stomach medicine? Mo Baichuan looked at him questioningly. What stomach medicine? Yin Xiaocheng continued. The stomach medicine that was soaked in the red wine. Didn't Xianxian tell you? In order to help your stomach. She came to me for advice many times. Li Xianxian stood to the side, her face revealing neither elation at her vindication nor indignation, but a calmness that hit Mo Baichuan like a pang of guilt. Xianxian, I'm sorry. Mo Baichuan struggled to speak those words. He had never apologized to anyone in his life. Li Xianxian was the first. Li Xianxian forced a smile, fighting back tears as she looked at Mo Baichuan. I guess it's my fault too. I shouldn't have secretly put the stomach medicine into the red wine, causing this misunderstanding. But what I couldn't believe is that you didn't trust me, Baichuan. I lost my parents when I was young. You're the only boyfriend I've had. You were the only person I could trust. But you didn't trust me. With every painful word Li Xianxian spoke, guilt stabbed at Mo Baichuan's heart. It was he who had really wronged Li Xianxian. He had no right to question her character. Chapter 430, A Not-to-be-Missed Drama. _4. Yin Xiaocheng gave Mo Baichuan a pat on the shoulder. In fact, Xianxian means well. She's afraid you won't take your medicine on time. So, she mixed the stomach medicine in the red wine. Brother, think about it. How many stomach pills have you thrown away these past years? Stomach medicine. There was actually stomach medicine in the red wine. Even Zhang Xianjing was stunned this time. Wasn't it that kind of medicine? How did it turn out to be stomach medicine? What exactly was going on? Zhang Xianjing glanced over at Li Xianxian, who smirked at her, the corner of her mouth filled with provocation. Now Zhang Xianjing understood everything. This was clearly a trap Li Xianxian had intentionally set for her. All was pre-planned by Li Xianxian. You vile woman, you schemed against me. Unable to bear such humiliation, Zhang Xianjing stormed over and slapped Li Xianxian hard across the face. Li Xianxian's head jerked to one side, a trace of fresh blood oozing out of the corner of her mouth. Sister Xianjing, I didn't. Zhang Xianjing. Enough is enough. Mo Baichuan seized Zhang Xianjing's wrist, and gave it a rough swing. Zheng Xianjing staggered, almost falling. "Brother Baichuan, we have been friends since childhood. You've only known Li Xianxian for 2 years. Please believe me. It's Li Xianxian who's deliberately framing me." "Zheng Xianjing, I've indulged you enough in the past. Get out now." Mo Baichuan angrily pointed towards the door. His face darkened with fury. Li Xianxian walked up to Mo Baichuan and seemingly understandingly said, "Actually, Sister Xianjing means well. She's grown up with you and didn't mean to cause harm." It appeared that Li Xianxian was finding excuses for Zheng Xianjing, when in reality, she was adding fuel to the fire. Zheng Xianjing almost died of anger. Damned Li Xianxian. She never dreamt that she would fall so miserably into Li Xianxian's trap one day. But she wouldn't admit defeat. Zheng Xianjing immediately said, "Brother Baichuan, I know I was wrong. Please don't be angry with me. Xianxian, please be magnanimous and forgive me." Not being entirely a fool, a hint of surprise flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes, and she generously said, "I hope that Sister Xianjing will think twice before doing anything next time." Zheng Xianxian nodded hurriedly. "Thank you, Xianxian. I promise there won't be a next time." The next time, she will repay Li Xianxian 100,000, tens of thousand times over for the humiliation she suffered today. Li Xianxian looked at Mo Baichuan. "Ideal I could take a day off to calm down." "Okay." Without any hesitation, Mo Baichuan nodded in agreement. "Then he'll leave first. He'll walk you out," Mo Baichuan said, trying to make up for his guilt, and caught up with Li Xianxian's steps. Li Xianxian turned back to refuse Mo Baichuan. "Don't follow me. I want to walk alone." This was the first time Li Xianxian had refused Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan was taken aback for a moment, and then said, "Then be careful on your own." Li Xianxian nodded, turned around, and walked towards the door. Her figure quickly disappeared from the base. "Brother Baichuan," Zheng Xianjing hesitated to step forward. "You should also go." Mo Baichuan pinched his temples. Zheng Xianjing continued, "Brother Baichuan, believe me, I really didn't." Mo Baichuan cut Zheng Xianjing off mid-sentence. "Go home." Those words exhausted all of Mo Baichuan's patience. Zheng Xianjing bit her lip and decided to retreat for now. After leaving the base, Li Xianxian didn't go anywhere else. Instead, she went to a public phone booth and made a phone call. After making the call, she squatted down on the side and sobbed sadly. Not long afterward, a small sedan pulled up next to Li Xianxian. Li Ting stepped out of the driver's seat. "Xianxian, what's wrong?" Although Ai Yang had told Li Ting that Li Xianxian's song, Mountain Moon, was plagiarized from Shi Murong, he didn't believe that Xianxian would plagiarize. How could a kind and exceptional girl like Li Xianxian commit such a contemptible act of plagiarism? It must have been Ai Yang, who was jealous of Li Xianxian, slandering her. Moreover, Li Ting had checked. There was no author named Shi Murong at all. "Tingji!" Li Xianxian threw herself into Li Ting's arms, sobbing loudly. Li Ting's eyes filled with heartache. "Xianxian, what's the matter? Who bullied you? Tell me. They'll seek revenge for you." "Stop asking. Tingji, I just want to hold you right now." Li Ting's heart twisted in pain. No one noticed that underneath the darkness, a malevolent smile curved up at the corner of Li Xianxian's mouth. It looked just like the hissing tongue of a venomous snake. Chapter 431, A Not-to-be-Missed Drama. _5. Since Mo Baichuan didn't trust her, what does it matter if she played the part of the ill-fated princess once more? Originally, she didn't want to go through all this trouble. After crying for a while, Li Xianxian's emotions gradually settled. Li Ting softly said, "Xianxian, it's getting late. Let me take you home." Li Xianxian tightly hugged Li Ting, and after a long while, she mumbled, "Tingji, would you let me stay for the night?" Li Xianxian was Li Ting's object of unfulfilled longing, so naturally, he was more than willing to agree to her request. "Xianxian, aren't you concerned about your reputation?" Li Ting hesitated. Despite his willingness, he had to consider Li Xianxian's reputation. After all, she was a girl. Li Xianxian feigned a strong smile. "Do you think I'm the type who cares about appearances?" You're my only confidant. Let's go, we'll take you home. Li Ting opened the passenger side of the car. For the sake of Li Xiangxian's reputation, Li Ting didn't take her back to Li family's villa, but brought her to his residence instead. Upon entering the residence, Li Ting busied himself with pouring hot water and preparing drinks for Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian said, I want to drink alcohol. Tingji, do you have any here? Li Ting handed a milk drink to Li Xianxian. It's not good for girls to drink alcohol. It's better to have some milk before bed. Li Xianxian looked at Li Ting and choked out. I feel awful. Tingji, just let me have a sip. In that moment, Li Ting gave in, taking a can of beer from the fridge. Cans came into existence in the 1950s. Li Xianxian handed Li Ting a can. Tingji, let's toast. Cheers. Li Xianxian chugged most of the beer in the can and drunkenly slumped onto Li Ting. Tingji, you're so kind. Li Ting sat there, barely daring to move. Tingji, I'm thirsty. I want to drink water. Li Xianxian requested. Li Ting handed her a cup of water. Li Xianxian pushed it away. I don't want a cold one. I want hot water. Helplessly, Li Ting rose to pour Li Xianxian some hot water. Hearing the sound of Li Ting's footsteps growing distant, Li Xianxian quickly pulled a green pill from her pocket, dropped it into Li Ting's beer, and shook it. Soon, Li Ting came back with the hot water. Xianxian, have some water. Li Xianxian took the cup. Tingji, let's toast. Li Ting picked up the spiked can and drank. The more he drank, the woozier and hotter he felt, and he began to lose control of himself. Despite this, he remained conscious. He forcefully subdued Li Xianxian. No matter how much she resisted, it was useless. The next day, Li Ting opened his eyes to an intense headache. Looking at the ceiling, his mind blank for a moment. Was last night a dream, or did it really happen? After a while, Li Ting lifted the covers, and in that moment, he realized that it was not a dream. Everything that happened last night was real. He had forced Li Xianxian. What should he do? Li Ting massaged his temples in frustration. He didn't know what had come over him last night. It was as if he was suddenly possessed. Li Xianxian saw him as her confidant, but he treated Li Xianxian this way. There was no way she would forgive him. Beast! Li Ting fiercely slapped himself. After washing up, Li Ting went to Li Xiangxian's school as soon as he could. After a long time, Li Xianxian came out looking frail and sorrowful, but with a bizarre melancholic beauty. Xianxian, Li Ting looked at Li Xianxian, wanting to speak but stopping. He knew it was too late to say anything now, but he could take responsibility for Li Xianxian. From now on, Li Xianxian would be the only lady of the Li family. He would spend the rest of his life treating her well. Don't say it. Li Xianxian interrupted Li Ting from speaking further. What happened last night was an accident. I don't blame you. Li Ting was taken aback. He didn't expect Li Xianxian to be this magnanimous. Li Xianxian went on. Tingji, I know what you're thinking, but I must clarify something. My relationship with you is nothing more than that of a confidant. I already have someone I like. He's my boyfriend now. And after what happened, I feel like I've really wronged him. If you really want to make it up to me, then help me keep this quiet. Chapter 432, A Not-to-Be-Missed Drama, _6. Li Tingji knew that Li Xianxian didn't like him. He had always known, but he still wanted to try. Xianxian, things have already happened. Marry me. I will be good to you in the future. Li Tingji, you're too selfish. Li Xianxian suddenly added weight to her tone. I didn't want it to happen. If you're not helping me now, it's fine. But you're using this to coerce me. Do you realize how hard it was for me to decide to see you? But you actually threatened me. Li Tingji became anxious. I'm sorry, Xianxian, I didn't mean it that way. I know I am wrong to you. Rest assured, I won't pressure you, nor will I intimidate you. I'll listen to whatever you say. After all, the one who was in the wrong was him towards Li Xianxian. That Li Xianxian could have been so composed was already beyond ordinary people. Come here. Li Xianxian spoke softly. Li Tingji leaned his head down. Li Xianxian whispered something in his ear. Hearing this, Li Tingji nodded and said, All right, leave this matter to me. His agreement came easily, but his eyes flashed with a look of pain. The Ni family. Ni Tsuehua was making chili strips in the kitchen. Adding to N.I. Yan's recipe, she sprinkled another layer of white sesame onto the ready-made spicy strips. The spicy taste was combined with the aroma of sesame, leaving a delightful flavor in the mouth with each bite. Once the chili strips were ready, N.I. Tsuehua filled up a big iron pot with them. She made a lot of chili strips, filling up an entire pot. N.I. Tsuehua pushed out her bicycle, fixed little N.I. Yun onto the child's seat, covered the iron pot full of chili strips with a plastic bag, and finally tied it onto the bike. By the time all this was done, it was already 3:30 p.m. N.I. Tsuehua rode her bike towards the city center. At 4 p.m., N.I. Tsuehua parked her bike in front of a primary school at the city center. Yes, N.I. Tsuehua had come to sell chili strips. N.I. Yin was so outstanding, she didn't want to be a useless mother, idling away at home every day. She wanted to do something too. The chili strips tasted so good, she was certain they would sell out in front of the school gate. N.I. Tsuehua took out the chili strips and displayed them on a big stone by the roadside. Little N.I. Yun sat in the bike's rear seat, not crying or making a fuss, exceptionally obedient. At 4:10 p.m., the school bell rang for the end of the day. Ding, ding, ding. A crowd of primary school students in school uniforms swarmed out. N.I. Tsuehua, standing by the roadside, suddenly felt a little nervous. Coming out to sell something for the first time, she didn't know what to do. There were also others nearby, selling buns and snacks, who didn't need to do anything for the children to rush to them. Some wanted the sesame candy, costing 5 yuan, and others the sugared ice, costing 3 yuan. Yet not a single student came to her. It was her first day, setting up a stall, and the big iron pot wasn't filled with colorful candies or delicious juice, so the children, not knowing what she was selling, naturally wouldn't come over. What should she do now? N.I. Tsuehua wanted to call out, but lacked the courage. She didn't know how to call out and felt extremely embarrassed. So when all the students had left, N.I. Tsuehua hadn't sold a single chili strip. This was a bit beyond N.I. Tsuehua's expectations. She had thought that it would be easy to do business, but she encountered a setback the day she started selling chili strips. Sigh. At 5:30 p.m., N.I. Tsuehua left with her cart, critically reviewing why she couldn't sell any chili strips. The main reason was pride. Others didn't know what she was selling or if it was nice, so naturally she couldn't sell anything. No, she needed to find a solution. N.I. Tsuehua thought about this as she cycled. The next day, N.I. Tsuehua went to the school gate as usual. Unlike yesterday, she brought along a cushion fan today. When the students got out of school, she began to fan the air and announce, "Chili strips, 2 yuan each." The delightful aroma was successfully wafted out, and after shouting a few times, N.I. Tsuehua found that it wasn't as embarrassing. Thus, she continued to call out a second time, a third time. However, since chili strips was a novel term, these children hadn't heard of it before and naturally wouldn't approach to inquire. Finally, a primary school student was drawn by the tantalizing smell and asked, "Annie, what do you call this? It smells so good." With a little customer approaching, N.I. Tsuehua was naturally joyous. "These are chili strips, fragrant and spicy, very delicious." "Is it exceptionally spicy?" Although the aroma was enticing, the child had never tasted it before and was a little hesitant. N.I. Tsuehua picked up a small piece with a toothpick and passed it to the child. "Kid, why don't you try it?" "Thank you, Auntie." The little customer reached out to receive it. There wasn't a child capable of resisting chili strips. The spicy and numbing sensation was simply too good. Furthermore, N.I. Tsuehua was generous with the seasonings, even adding her own special blend of spices, making the taste even more satisfying. People would hate to waste any bit, almost regretting not sucking their fingers clean. The little customer finished the bite-sized sample and was left wanting more. Immediately, she asked, "Auntie, is it 2 yuan per chili strip?" "Yes." N.I. Tsuehua nodded smilingly. "It'll take 3. The little customer immediately took out 6 yuan to give to N.I. Tsuehua. N.I. Tsuehua promptly wrapped the chili strips and handed them to her. Thanks to the first little customer's word of mouth, the second and third customers quickly joined in. In a short time, all the chili strips in a large iron pot were sold out. And Suehua, felt it was as incredible as a dream. When she returned home, Suehua, counted the money she had earned from selling chili strips that day. Adding up all the small change, it turned out to be 6 yuan in total. 6 yuan a day meant 180 yuan a month. This was much better than an average salary worker. Moreover, she only had to sell for a short while at 4 p.m. each day. This wouldn't disrupt her household chores either. For several consecutive days, Suehua, went out to sell chili strips to supplement the family income. The term chili strip gradually circulated among a group of primary school students. The other vendors nearby saw how good Kuihua's business was and followed suit, causing envy. Today was Mo Baichuan's birthday. Mo Baichuan didn't want to be extravagant, but his good brother Li Tingji and several other friends insisted on holding a birthday party for him. Mo Baichuan couldn't refuse, so he had to agree. Because of the previous incident, Mo Baichuan always felt guilty towards Li Xianxian, so he went to invite her personally. Thinking of Yin, he intentionally let the news slip to Yin and also invited Mo Qixin to join. As he knew, Yang would certainly come on the pretext of joining Mo Baichuan. Chapter 433, Mo Baichuan Strategy, Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _1. So, Mo Baichuan's next move was to compensate Li Xianxian well, so as to provoke Yang. The venue for Li Tingzi's birthday party for Mo Baichuan was a large restaurant in Beijing. By 7 o'clock in the evening, Mo Baichuan arrived punctually under Li Xianxian's dormitory. For her part, Li Xianxian showed up, looking beautiful and radiant before Mo Baichuan, not pretending to be ignorant, as though she had forgotten the incident of that day. Baichuan, seeing Li Xianxian in such a magnanimous state, deepened Mo Baichuan's guilt, and he took the initiative to open her car door. Sit. Thank you. Li Xianxian leaned in and sat. Within a short time, the car had arrived at the restaurant entrance. Thinking that Yang and Mo Qixin were probably already there, Mo Baichuan took the initiative to link arms with Li Xianxian and proceed into the restaurant. Li Xianxian looked at their linked arms, a faint curve forming at the corner of her mouth. After tonight, Mo Baichuan would wholly belong to her. As soon as the two walked into the private room, they were showered with streamers by good friends hiding in the dark. Happy birthday! It was the first time for Mo Baichuan to introduce Li Xianxian to these friends, and the crowd teased him. Baichuan, who is the beauty beside you? Baichuan, won't you introduce her to us? Maintaining his composure, Mo Baichuan scanned his gaze across the crowd. This is my girlfriend, Li Xianxian. Girlfriend? The iron tree that hadn't bloomed for 1,000 years has finally blossomed, and he has a girlfriend. Everyone scrambled to greet Li Xianxian. She comported herself very well, showing the demeanor fitting to her heritage. Mo Baichuan's expression was a bit complicated, as Mo Qixin and Yang were not among these people. Yang didn't come? Where was Yang? Usually, Yang wouldn't skip a birthday party like this. Hadn't he let someone inform her? Could it possibly be that Yang was on her way now? Yes, Yang must be en route. Mo Baichuan withdrew his gaze nonchalantly. After their friends made a ruckus in the private room, when it was time to order dishes, neither Mo Qixin nor Yang had come. Was Yang trying to make a late grand entrance to attract everyone's attention? Considering her character, this was likely. Mo Baichuan didn't wait for Yang and passed the menu to Li Xianxian for her to order the food. All of this was observed by Li Tingji, who was sitting across from them. A murky light flashed in his eyes, and his fists clenched inside his sleeves. No one can understand the feeling of pushing the person you love most into another man's arms. It hurts his heart, but he had to keep it to himself. Just as almost all the dishes had been served, the door of the private room was pushed open again. Without a second thought, he knew Mo Qixin and Yang must be the ones who came. Looking up, Mo Baichuan saw Mo Qixin, as expected. He knew Yang would come eventually. A mocking gleam flashed in Mo Baichuan's eyes. Nephew, happy birthday. I got held up and came late. Immerse still seemed frivolous and careless as ever. The rest of the table showed disdain towards Immerse's arrival. He was nothing more than a good-for-nothing. He wasn't worth their extra glance. If Immerse weren't Immerse's uncle, he wouldn't even have the privilege to share table with them. Although there were plenty of spoilt brats among the upper class, none was as utterly worthless as Immerse. Uncle. Immerse stood up politely, pulling out a chair for Immerse. Immerse took the seat without refusal, examined the room with his eyes, sat in the first position nonchalantly, chest folded, legs on the table, the very picture of a spoilt brat. A useless person wasn't scary. What was disturbing was that he didn't feel embarrassed about his actions, but acted presumptuously. How did the 100-year-old Immerse family end up with such a person? Everyone else at the table shook their heads helplessly. Immerse glanced casually at the restaurant entrance, furrowing his brows subtly. Did only Immerse come? Where was Yang? Why didn't Yang come with Immerse? Had they broken up? If they indeed had broken up, would Yang start taking steps to attract his attention next? Couldn't she hold back anymore? He knew it. Yang couldn't have been infatuated with a worthless person like Immerse. A sneering light flashed in the depth of Immerse's eyes. Li Xianxian, looking at Immerse with a smile, asked the question that lingered in Immerse's heart. Uncle, how come your fiancé did not come with you? Chapter 434. Immerse's Tactics. Bigwig's Proposal _2. The future sixth aunt-in-law. Upon hearing this, everyone else around was stunned. Immerse has a girlfriend now. Who knows which girl is blind enough to be with this useless Immerse? It must not be a decent girl, probably a gold digger out of the slums, only interested in the Immerse family's fortune to date Immerse. Otherwise, could this useless Immerse possibly find a girlfriend in their circles? A gold digger and a good-for-nothing. What a perfect match they must be. Upon such thoughts, everyone's gazes became even more contemptuous. Without caring about the disdain from others, Immerse picked up his glass, took a sip of red wine, and coldly said, "Your sixth aunt is afraid of being bothered by some mad dog." A mad dog? Immerse's face turned dark. He didn't really want to lose his temper in front of his elder relative Immerse. Yang clearly was the one who dumped Immerse, yet he twisted it up now. Pathetic, truly pathetic. He has no self-awareness at all. Li Xianxian pretended not to understand. What kind of joke are you making, uncle? Where would there be any mad dogs around? Immerse gave a faint smile. Isn't it clear to you if there are mad dogs around? After finishing, he stood upright and looked down at Immerse. I've already wished you a happy birthday, nephew. I have to leave now due to other matters. Other matters? What kind of business could Immerse have? Someone jeered. Young Master Mo, you seem to be a busy man. May I know what urgent business you need to attend to? The enjoyment of a warm evening in the embrace of love is also a big deal in life. You're right. Eating, drinking, and having fun are important too, right? At that, the room burst into laughter. Immerse didn't get angry, took his hat from the waiter, and put it on. The dark brim hid his elegant eyes and also the ridiculing expression in them. Interestingly, all of Immerse's friends considered themselves juniors in front of Immerse. But Immerse didn't even attempt to intervene. He just got up and said, "Uncle, let me see you out." Li Xianxian stood up and followed Immerse's pace. The two escorted Immerse to the door. As Immerse walked out, he looked up at the moon in the sky. The cold moonlight coated him with a silver halo, revealing a subtle mystique. Suddenly he missed Yang. Immerse sighed lightly. Striving to present Yang with all the finest things in the world, he had been busy all these days. Counting the time, they hadn't seen each other for over 10 days. "Sir," a black luxury car pulled up in front of Immerse. Marcus got out of the car and respectfully opened the back door. Immerse leaned into the back seat. "Sir, in a few days, it will be Miss Nis' younger sister and Yun's first birthday. Do you need us to prepare a gift? Morris, who was sitting in the co-driver's seat, looked back at Mo Chishin. A spark flickered in Mo Kishin's eyes. No need. I will prepare it myself. Prepare the gift himself? Upon hearing this, both Marcus and Morris were slightly taken aback. It seemed that this Miss and I really was special. Mo Chishin unbuttoned the second button on his white shirt and said, "Clear my schedule for tomorrow morning." Understood. Marcus nodded his head. Inside the restaurant, in a private room, a group of people were clapping and singing happy birthday to Mo Baichuan. Li Xianxian cut the cake for Mo Baichuan herself. Looking at this beautiful and warm scene, Li Ting kept drinking and even forgot about thing that Li Xianxian had asked him to do. "Tingji, have some cake." Li Xianxian placed a piece of cake in front of Li Ting. Li Ting took one look at her and came back to his senses. "Thank you, sister-in-law." Yes. Now, he ought to call Li Xianxian sister-in-law, because everyone in the private room was calling her sister-in-law. If he didn't, it would undoubtedly arouse suspicion. No worries. Li Xianxian smiled gently, but the look in her eyes served as a reminder. Li Ting immediately understood the meaning in Li Xianxian's eyes and raised his glass, looking towards Mo Baichuan. "Baichuan, you are the birthday boy. Hey, raise to a happy birthday and to your everlasting happiness with sister-in-law." "Thank you." Mo Baichuan raised his glass to toast with Li Ting. Then Li Ting continued, "Let's all make sure we're drunk before we go home." Yes, yes, yes. Let's get drunk." The rest of them echoed in agreement. Chapter 435. Mo Baichuan's Tactic, Big Boss Proposal _3. One drink, then two. Gradually, Mo Baichuan's head was getting dizzy. Li Xianxian tried to dissuade him. "Baichuan, please stop drinking. You're becoming drunk." Li Tingji laughed. "Sister-in-law, Baichuan has a good alcohol tolerance. Happy to be drunk." Exactly. Baichuan once drank a bottle of white wine in one gulp. Mo Baichuan was normally very disciplined and rarely drank. On the rare occasion that people had the chance to drink with him, they were not about to let him off so easily. "I'm fine, don't worry." Mo Baichuan turned to look at Li Xianxian. Frustrated, Li Xianxian sighed. As the drinks continued for 3 hours, countless empty bottles littered the ground. Not only was Mo Baichuan drunk, everyone else in the private room was too. "Xian," Li Tingji began, lifting his gaze to her, before quickly correcting, "Sister-in-law, why don't you take Baichuan home first? I can handle things here." Li Xianxian nodded and reached out to support Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan, standing 185 meters tall, was completely unconscious and limp from the alcohol. Li Xianxian was unable to muster the strength to move him. Seeing this, Li Tingji assisted by holding up the other side of Mo Baichuan. "I'll help take you guys home." "Thank you, Tingji." Li Xianxian looked gratefully at him. Agonizing regret flickered across Li Tingji's face. He didn't say anything, just continued helping Mo Baichuan forward while Li Xianxian hustled to keep up. Li Tingji drove directly to the base and helped Mo Baichuan into his dormitory room. Li Xianxian took out a key from Mo Baichuan's pocket and unlocked the door. The lavish dormitory, boasting a living room and bedroom suite, hardly resembled a student's dorm. Li Tingji dumped Mo Baichuan on the bed, telling Li Xianxian, "I'm leaving now." Li Xianxian nodded, her voice soft. "Take care on your way." As he turned to go, tears streamed down Li Tingji's face. As soon as the door shut, Li Xianxian walked to the bed and sneered down at Mo Baichuan, a satisfactory smirk on her face. Then, she bent over to unzip his clothes. Rip, soon, a pile of torn clothes laid on the floor. Normally, men who are severely drunk have no physical reactions, but Li Xianxian did not care. She had calculated precisely that it would be her ovulation period the same night she spent with Li Tingji. Li Xianxian turned the unconscious Mo Baichuan over and positioned him on top of her. The next morning, as soon as the sunshine seeped in through the window, Mo Baichuan opened his eyes. Something's fell off underneath the covers, as if someone were hiding there. Was he dreaming? Mo Baichuan looked down and suddenly snapped awake. What the hell was happening? Why was Li Xianxian in his bed? Mo Baichuan felt a terrible headache. His mind was blank, unable to remember what had happened the night before. What had happened? He was pretty confident about his self-control. How could he have lost his inhibitions after drinking? Pinching his temples to alleviate his irritation, Mo Baichuan glanced at the torn clothing strewn on the ground and immediately felt a pit in his stomach. Could it be that he had forced himself on Li Xianxian? Just then, a piercing scream echoed throughout the room. Li Xianxian, who had apparently woken up at some point, was gripping the bed covers, her face pale, her entire body trembling. Xianxian, I have no idea what happened. Mo Baichuan was at a loss, unsure of where to begin explaining. Gulping nervously, Li Xianxian tried to regain some calm. You don't say anything. Let me collect my thoughts. After saying this, she wrapped herself in thin covers and walked toward the bathroom. With the blanket taken, a bright red stain was glaringly obvious on the white sheets. Almost too glaring. Was this Li Xianxian's first time? Mo Baichuan's frown deepened even further. After hurriedly dressing himself, he sat down on the sofa, lit a cigarette, and began to furiously puff smoke. Did Li Xianxian set him up? Ordinarily, he had good tolerance. Even when drunk, he wouldn't become unruly or violent. He would only quietly sleep. How could something like this have happened? Also, why was Li Xianxian in his dormitory? Chinese name squinted his eyes. After a while, Li Xianxian finally emerged, wrapped in covers, from the bathroom. Baichuan. Li Xianxian initiated the conversation. Mo Baichuan looked up at Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian resumed. Last night was an accident. We're both adults, and I'm also responsible for it. Don't blame yourself or feel guilty. Don't worry, I won't hold you responsible or make any unreasonable demands. Chapter 436. Mo Baichuan Strategy, Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _4. Upon hearing this, a hint of guilt appeared on Mo Baichuan's face. Rest assured, I am not the kind of person who shirks responsibility. Some things were done and couldn't be undone. Li Xianxian was an innocent young woman who had followed him. It would be unfathomable for Mo Baichuan to deny her now. Li Xianxian said solemnly, Baichuan, I don't want you to take responsibility just for the sake of it. Although we are boyfriend and girlfriend now, I can tell that you don't really like me. So let's break up. Break up? Mo Baichuan was astounded. He had never expected Li Xianxian to bring up breaking up. If this was truly a trap set by Li Xianxian, would she propose breaking up? Who would ever gamble with their own reputation and dignity? For a moment, Mo Baichuan suddenly found the situation confusing. Are you sure you want to break up? Mo Baichuan turned his head to look at Li Xianxian. Yes, I'm sure. Li Xianxian nodded firmly. Let's break up. I will move out of the base as soon as possible, and that way there will be no pressure on either of us. All right, Mo Baichuan nodded. Then let's break up. He was curious if Li Xianxian would really move out. As Li Xianxian curved her lips into an imperceptible smile, a flicker of disdain flashed in her eyes. So, this was how lightly he took her in his heart. He didn't even try to keep her when faced with a breakup. Luckily, she was prepared for this. This time, she was determined to hold on to Mo Baichuan's heart tightly. Goodbye. Li Xianxian wrapped herself tightly in the quilt and moved towards the door. Halfway there, she turned back to look at Mo Baichuan. Don't worry, I will leave quietly without causing any disturbance. After leaving Mo Baichuan's dorm, Li Xianxian went to her own dorm, changed her clothes, and took her luggage to leave the base. Without any reluctance or regret. Just as Li Xianxian left, the dorm phone rang. Mo Baichuan walked over and picked it up. Hello. Baichuan, it's me. Li Ting's voice came from the other end of the phone. Mo Baichuan cleared his throat, then asked, Tingji, what's up? Li Ting asked with concern. You and sister-in-law were all right last night, right? Why do you ask? Mo Baichuan furrowed his brows slightly. Li Ting then asked, Baichuan, do you really have no recollection of what happened last night? Last night? What exactly happened? Li Ting continued. This is what happened. Last night you drank too much and you were holding sister-in-law's hand tightly, not letting it go. In the end, you started acting unruly. There was no other way, so sister-in-law and I brought you back to your dorm. But you kept causing a ruckus after returning to the dorm. Upon hearing this, Imo Baichuan's expression grew increasingly dark. So it really was him who forced Li Xianxian. Hello, Baichuan, are you still listening? Imo Baichuan finally came back to his senses. I have some other things to do. I'll hang up first. After hanging up the phone, Imo Baichuan went to Li Xianxian's dorm, only to discover that Li Xianxian had already taken all her clothes and left. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Imo Qishan came to Jinghua village early in the morning, and the villagers greeted him warmly. Xiaoma is here. Imo Qishan graciously replied with hello, uncle, hello, aunt, even handing out cigarettes to the men, which made all the elderly men and women beam with smiles. In no time, he reached the courtyard of the Ni family. Imo Qishan stood in front of the courtyard and politely knocked on the door. Who's there? Ni Tsuehua came out. Seeing Imo Qishan, she immediately replied brightly, Xiaoma is here. Come in. Aunt, where's Yang Yang? Imo Qishan looked around the courtyard. Yang Yang went to the river to do laundry. Ni Tsuehua replied, doing laundry at the river? Imo Qishan frowned sympathetically. Hadn't he bought a washing machine already? Why did Ni Yang still need to go to the river to do laundry? Hand washing was so laborious. He'll go find Yang Yang. Imo Qishan continued. Ni Tsuehua replied, I can show you the way. Imo Qishan shook his head. Don't worry, aunt. I know the way. Ni Tsuehua smiled and said, fine then, you can go. Imo Qishan turned and headed out. In no time, he arrived by the river. He saw Ni Yang standing by the river with her pants rolled up, busy washing clothes. Her actions exposed a bit of her slender, fair waist against the black cloth, making it noticeably eye-catching. A few ducks were swimming around near the edge. Imo Qishan's Adam's apple bobbed visibly. He took off his shoes and quietly made his way towards Ni Yang. Chapter 437. Imo Baichuan Strategy. Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _5. His footsteps were light, very light. Ni Yang was engrossed in washing clothes, not noticing anything else. Imo Qishan quietly came to Ni Yang's side, covered her eyes with his hand, and held his breath as he asked, Guess who I am? Ni Yang was momentarily startled, but played along. Let me guess. First, using the process of elimination, you definitely aren't that scoundrel Imo Qishan. Her long eyelashes brushed against Imo Qishan's palm, causing a slight tickling sensation. From Imo Qishan's angle, he could see straight down Ni Yang's neckline. Don't peek when it's inappropriate. Imo Qishan quickly averted his gaze from the sight, looking at the wild ducks on the river, silently chanting a mantra to clear his mind several times. Ni Yang pinched Imo Qishan's hand. Scoundrel, let go of me now. A patch of water immediately wet Imo Qishan's hand. He quickly came to his senses, releasing Ni Yang, somewhat surprised. Yang Yang, how did you know it was me? Ni Yang raised an eyebrow slightly, playfully retorting, because our hearts are connected. As it turned out, Imo Qishan was indeed not immune to teasing. His face instantly turned red. Really? Really? Ni Yang laughed. Of course it's true. So, Brother Imo, what brings you here today? Imo Qishan held Ni Yang tightly, burying his head in her neck, deeply inhaling the fragrance of her hair. Because I missed you. He really, really missed her. He didn't know how to describe this strange feeling. Yang Yang, do you miss me? Imo Qishan continued to ask. And Ni Yang nodded. Really? Imo Qishan was overjoyed. Really? Yang Yang, I really like you a lot. Imo Qishan said seriously. I feel like I can't live without you in this life. I want to be with you forever. Ni Yang asked. Forever is a long time. Are you certain that when I'm old and wrinkled, you'll still feel the same as you do now? Perhaps it was because of too many past experiences. Ni Yang had a hard time believing in love. She wasn't sure how long Imo Qishan's affection for her could last. Who knows what could happen in the future? Yang Yang, I'm 10 years older than you. It'll get old before you. They'll develop wrinkles before you do. As long as you don't mind me, I will always be there to protect you. As it turns out, Immo was the one who felt insecure. He was afraid that one day, In-Ai-Yang would think he was too old. After all, there was a 10-year gap between them. Don't worry, I won't mind you getting old. In-Ai-Yang tightened her hold around his waist. Really, Immo seemed to be in a dream. In-Ai-Yang was serious. Really. Immo continued. Wife, when are we getting married? Cough, cough, cough. This scoundrel Immo is too presumptuous. She's just 18, and he's already thinking about marriage. In-Ai-Yang was nearly choked by her own saliva, and she pushed Immo away. Scoundrel, what are you thinking? Caught off guard, Immo plopped down into the water, sitting there. I'm sorry, Brother Immo, are you okay? In-Ai-Yang immediately extended a hand to help Immo up. Immo refused to get up from the water, looking at In-Ai-Yang with a pitiful face. Wife, don't you want to marry me? Who are you planning to marry first? Have you stopped liking me? No, you misunderstand. It's not that I don't want to marry you. In-Ai-Yang didn't know how to explain herself. Upon hearing this, Immo brightened. Then when are we getting married? Seriously, again with this problem. In-Ai-Yang kicked Immo lightly. Scoundrel, I'm only 18. Does that conflict with marriage? Immo asked innocently, a forlorn look on his face. Wife, we can't be dishonest. You just said you wouldn't mind me. I'm older than you, and you don't want to marry me now. I feel really insecure. At that moment, In-Ai-Yang had the strange illusion that Immo was like a homeless, pitiful little puppy. In-Ai-Yang softened at that, changing her tone. I'm not even of legal marrying age yet. There's a rule that states that the combined age of the couple must be at least 42 for the marriage to be legally recognized. And for girls, the legal age of marriage is 20. Immo considered this for a moment. Then we can get married in 2 years. In-Ai-Yang took hold of Immo hand. Brother Immo, get up first. Immo with a mischievous glint in his eyes, held In-Ai-Yang's hand. He slowly stood up, but just then he suddenly pulled her. Chapter 438. Immo Baichuan Strategy, Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _6. Bang! Both of them fell into the water simultaneously, splashing water everywhere. In-Ai-Yang had not been prepared and ended up landed on Immo body. Breathing entwined, they could clearly feel each other's heartbeat. Even Immo the orchestrator of the whole thing, was stunned, his mind blank. In-Ai-Yang didn't get up in a rush. She reached out to pinch Immo face. You dog, has your courage grown? You dare to conspire against me. I didn't, Immo stammered. In-Ai-Yang increased the strength in her grip, still defending yourself. Immo controlled himself and said, Yang, could you get up first, please? No, In-Ai-Yang replied. Didn't you now get up? Yang. Immo pupils were as dark as ink, his voice low. In-Ai-Yang decided to back off, stood up, and said, I will let you off this time. Phew! Immo let out a sigh of relief. If In-Ai-Yang hadn't gotten up, he just might have embarrassed himself. He might even have ended up scaring his wife away. In-Ai-Yang continued washing clothes. If you looked closely, her ears were slightly red. Immo stopped teasing her, took off his upper clothes, and dived into the river with vigor. In-Ai-Yang simply washed his clothes as well. The fell earlier had caused quite a bit of yellow mud to stick to Immo white shirt. In-Ai-Yang's clothes were not spared either, got quite wet, but luckily, it was summer and the thin clothes dried quickly. Yang. Immo swam to the middle of the river, popped his head out, and called for In-Ai-Yang. What is it? In-Ai-Yang looked up. Can you guess what I caught? Immo continued. A fish. In-Ai-Yang guessed. Wrong. Immo shook his head. River clams? Immo still shook his head. It's not a snake, is it? In-Ai-Yang shivered at the thought. Immo courage was indeed tremendous. He even dared to catch a snake. Incorrect. Immo shook his head again. If it's not a fish, not a river clam, and not even a snake, In-Ai-Yang couldn't guess what else in the river Immo could have caught. Yang, you're really clueless. And I Young raised an eyebrow. Are you just messing with me and you didn't catch anything at all? Damn, man. And Mo Chishan laughed. Yang Yang, how about we make a bet? If you guess correctly, you'll agree to something you ask. If you can't, you'll have to agree to do something for me. And I'll even give you a hint. And Ayong nodded slightly. Okay, go ahead. And Mo Chishan continued. The thing I caught is alive. You've seen it before, and you might have even eaten it. River shrimp. Wrong. And Mo Chishan chuckled. Yang Yang, you lost. I admit defeat. And Ayong added. Can you tell me what you caught now? And Mo Chishan raised his right hand. It's this. Suddenly, the sound of quack, quack, quack echoed in the air. A wild duck. And Ayong would never have guessed that Mo Chishan would catch a wild duck. Wild ducks differ from domestic ducks. Not only are they much smaller in size, but they're also very agile and can fly high like birds. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to catch a wild duck barehanded. Even professional hunters need to use guns. Mo Chishan quickly swam over to Ayong and handed the wild duck to her, shamelessly asking, How awesome is your man? And Ayong slapped his face. Mr. Mo, can you have some shame, please? Mo Chishan continued. Yang Yang, you lost. You have to agree to do something for me. Go ahead. Kiss me. Mo Chishan, lying on a rock in the river, said this very seriously. And Yang's cheeks turned slightly red. How was she supposed to respond to that? Yang Yang, don't go back on your word. And Yang mustered up her courage. Close your eyes first. Mo Chishan obediently closed his eyes, and Yang lowered her eyes slightly, quickly pecked him on the cheek, fleeting like a dragonfly touching the water. Even though it was only a moment, and Yang's heart was thumping. Mo Chishan was in a similar state, calm on the surface, but an absolute mess inside. Wife, you are too perfunctory. After a while, Mo Chishan finally opened his eyes. He was incredibly grateful to be in the water right now. And Yang knocked his head with a look of disgust on her face. Your face stinks. Stop acting smart after scoring points. It's okay as long as you smell nice, wife. Mo Chishan handed the wild duck to Yang. Wife, I will go for another swim. When Yang looked at Mo Chishan again, he was no longer visible on the water surface. A good while later, he reappeared from the opposite bank of the river. Yang untied her red hairband and tied the wings and feet of the wild duck with it, then put it in the bucket. After finishing washing the clothes, Yang took out the clothes that Mo Baichuan had worn and hung them on a tree by the riverbank to dry while she sat underneath the tree, seeking shade, and watched Mo Chishan swimming in the river. Yang Yang, do you want to swim around too? Called Mo Chishan from the river. No thanks. Yang gave him a blank look. In broad daylight, if she did get into the water, she could likely become the guest of honor in the village news the next day. Yang Yang, I've caught something again. Mo Chishan's voice echoed, full of excitement. Is it a fish? Yang Yang, you are so smart. Mo Chishan raised a grass carp that weighs over 3 pounds. Yang just sat by the river and watched him, smiles flickering in her eyes. About half an hour later, Mo Chishan came up from the water. Right at that time, the clothes also dried. Mo Chishan put them on, took the bucket with the clothes from Yang. Yang smiled. I can't carry it. Mo Chishan said, How could I allow you to do this kind of work while I, as your boyfriend, am around? Boyfriends are meant to do hard work. What else is the use of having a boyfriend? Yang patted his head. Good understanding, young man. Mo Chishan smiled. All credit to your coaching. Nobody else got such a privilege. Yang couldn't help but laugh. As they walked and talked, their handsome and beautiful scene made passing pedestrians compliment them heavily. Such a perfect match of talent and beauty. In no time, they arrive at the Ni family's house. It was already after 10 a.m., nearing 11 a.m. Yang suggested, Brother Mo, stay for lunch. They'll clean up the duck and grill the fish. Mo Chishan nodded. Yes, it'll help you. He seemed to have forgotten about the important meeting waiting for him at noon. Chapter 439, Big Brother. I'm a person who loves to idle away his time. Tell me one more time, _1. Mo Chishan followed Ni Yang into the kitchen. Ni Tsuehua was originally busy in the kitchen. Seeing Mo Chishan and Ni Yang arrive, she thought it would be best not to disturb the young couple. So, she left under the pretense of needing to look after the children. Yang Yang, are we killing the duck too? MMM. Ni Yang nodded. He'll do it. Mo Chishan rolled up his sleeves and volunteered. Can you handle it? Ni Yang expressed doubt. A man is most bothered by a woman questioning his ability. I can handle it just fine. Mo Chishan took the wild duck from Ni Yang's hand. Ni Yang gave him a small smile and handed him the kitchen knife. Here you go. And so, the usually commanding boss, who would direct operations from his office, was now holding a knife in one hand and a wild duck in the other, unsure of how to proceed. Should he cut the duck's head off? Or perhaps cut it open directly? Would cutting off the head be enough? Mo Chishan held the knife against the duck's neck, preparing to cut its head off when he suddenly stopped. No way. No way. What if the duck's blood splashed onto him? Mo Chishan looked at the duck, then at the kitchen knife, struggling with what to do next. Let me do it. Ni Yang reached for the duck in Mo Chishan's hand. Xiaoma, fetch a bowl from the kitchen and fill it with some salt water. Okay. Mo Chishan touched his nose awkwardly. Yang Yang, how much water and salt should I put in the bowl? Half a small bowl of water and half a small spoon of salt. Ni Yang answered. Okay, you'll be right back. Mo Chishan trotted into the kitchen. Although he couldn't handle killing the duck, simple tasks like this were no problem for Mo Chishan. He quickly came back with his salt water. Yang Yang here. You can leave it on the floor. Ni Yang then said, Xiaoma, can you hold the duck's feet and wings? Okay. Mo Chishan obediently did as he was told. Ni Yang held the duck's head. The sharp knife instantly aimed at the duck's neck. The bright red blood dripped into the bowl of salt water. She acted swiftly, without hesitation. This left Mo Chishan shocked. His wife was incredibly skilled. Even at killing ducks, she made it look cool. This was the second time Ni Yang had impressed Mo Chishan, the first time being when she effortlessly opened a bottle cap. After killing the duck, Ni Yang brought 2 bottles of hot water, then looked at Mo Chishan. Xiaoma, can you pluck the feathers? Yes. If he couldn't handle this, he would surely lose favor with his wife. Just plucking feathers, right? It's as easy as pie. Mo Chishan put the duck into a wooden basin, poured boiling water over it, and began to pluck the feathers. As it turned out, plucking feathers was indeed much simpler than killing the duck. In a short while, Mo Chishan had finished prepping the duck. Yang Yang, the duck is ready. Ni Yang was busy with the grass carp and without raising her head said, Thanks for your hard work, Xiaoma. It's no trouble. Mo Chishan's face turned slightly red and he volunteered to stoke the fire beneath the stove. Ni Yang was cooking by the stove. The two of them worked well together, and soon the small kitchen was filled with the fragrance of food. For lunch, there was spicy and fresh grilled fish and a delectably soft and rich duck soup, paired with a sour and spicy cucumber salad. The taste was beyond delicious. Mo Chishan ate 2 big bowls of rice in one breath, feeling like it still wasn't enough. After the meal, Mo Chishan volunteered to wash the dishes. Ni Tsuehua laughed. Xiaoma is such a good boy. Yang Yang, you must cherish him. Don't bully him. Ni Tsuehua, having grown up in a different era, had never seen a man do so much for a woman before. In her generation, it was taken for granted that women should serve men. But Mo Chishan had completely overturned her old-fashioned viewpoints. Mo Chishan showed her equality and respect. He was a man deserving of Ni Yang's love. Ni Yang raised an eyebrow slightly. Mom, do you think I would bully anyone? Ni Tsuehua knew her daughter was thoughtful and laughed. Yang Yang, as long as you know, Xiaoma is busy in the kitchen now. You should go check on him. MMM. Ni Yang nodded and headed toward the kitchen. Yang Yang, when are we moving to the new house next door? Mo Chishan asked while putting the dishes away in the cabinet. Ni Yang replied, We're probably moving next month. We haven't decided on a specific moving date. We'll move once the paint smell has dissipated. It's convenient living here now, so there's no hurry. Chapter 440, Boss, I'm a leisurely idler. Help me one more time, _2. The newly renovated house had excessive formaldehyde levels, which wouldn't be good for little Yun's health if we moved in too early. Mo Chishin continued, remember to inform me when you move. Okay. And Yang walked over to Mo Chishin. Brother Mo, don't move. What's wrong? Mo Chishin couldn't control himself as Yang suddenly came close. Don't move. Yang stood on her tiptoes, and a fragrance that was like neither bamboo nor orchid wafted over. What was Yang trying to do? What was she planning by standing on her tiptoes? Was she going to kiss him? If she wanted to kiss him, she didn't need to tiptoe. He could squat down. How embarrassing this was. Mo Chishin's heartbeat suddenly quickened. Thump, 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 as if it was about to jump out of his chest. Pop! A faint sound was heard in the air. Mo Chishin was stupefied for a moment. He thought Yang was going to kiss him, but instead, she just slapped him lightly on the forehead. Brother Mo, look what I got. Yang showed her palm to Mo Chishin. Mo Chishin lowered his gaze slightly, only to see a mosquito with a trace of blood in Yang's palm. So, she was just killing a mosquito. Although Mo Chishin was a bit disappointed, he still flattered her. Yang, you're so awesome. Downtown business building. Morris and Marcus were anxiously pacing around the building. The duo kept checking their watches, wondering, why hasn't the boss arrived yet? The meeting was supposed to be at 12 o'clock, and now it's after 1 o'clock, but there's still no sign of Mo Chishin. Mo Chishin has always been disciplined, never late to meetings large or small. They didn't know what was going on this time. Had something happened? Morris asked Marcus. Do you know where the boss went? Marcus shrugged. How would I know? The boss asked me to clear all his schedules for this morning, but he didn't tell me where he was going. Morris, with a worried look, said, did something happen to him? In this era of underdeveloped communications, it's so inconvenient. If anything happens, we don't have any means of communication, and we can only worry. Marcus said, TSK, TSK, TSK. Shut your gloom-mongering mouth. How could anything happen to the boss? I think he must have gone to see Miss and I. Morris scratched his head. Impossible, right? It's almost the first birthday of Miss and I's sister. If the boss wants to see Miss and I, he wouldn't be so urgent. Who knows? Marcus added, there's an old Chinese poem that goes a day without seeing you is like a decade in torment. I think the boss is really fallen this time. Hey, Race, what we do? They'll wait here for the boss. You go find Wu Daming to visit Miss N.I.'s house and check whether the boss is there. Morris nodded. Okay, I'll go now. When Wu Daming arrived, Mo Chishin and N.I. Yang were feeding birds in the yard. They were a beautiful and perfect couple, whispering to each other. The scene was endearing and pleasant to the eye. Brother 6. Wu Daming ran in, his face covered in sweat. What's up? Mo Chishin turned back with a smile. Although he was smiling, Wu Daming felt a chill down his spine. This Brother 6 was somewhat terrifying. With a thick skin, Wu Daming reminded him, Brother 6, Xiaoma and Xiaoma are searching for you everywhere. Only then did Mo Chishin remember about his meeting. He glanced at his wristwatch and saw it was already 2 o'clock. Well, it's already past 12. Might as well spend some more time with my wife. And Yang said, Brother Mo, if you have something to do, you should go back with Wu Daming first. Don't delay your work. No problem. Mo Chishin replied without a care. What kind of official business could a man of leisure like me have? Wu Daming, if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe that the man before him was Mo Chishin. Indeed, love can drive people crazy. Are you really sure it's okay? And Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. It's really okay, continued Mo Chishin. If you don't believe me, you can ask Wu Daming. So, in the corner that Yang couldn't see, Wu Daming received another deadly glare. Wanting to live, he laughed and said, It's okay, Xiaoma and Xiaoma are just two idle youths. Apart from wanting to drink with Brother 6, what else could be so important? Sorry, Morris and Marcus. You're being blamed for being idle and unproductive by me. In his heart, Wu Daming apologized silently to the outstanding young men, Morris and Marcus. And Yang smiled and said, That's good then. Oh, Wu Daming, we're planning to eat roast rabbit tonight. Why don't you stay and join us? Chapter 441, Big Boss. I'm a person who enjoys idling around. Tell me one more time, _3. Thanks, sister-in-law and I, but I won't be joining for dinner, Wu Daming declined politely. The roast rabbit was delicious, but he didn't want to be a third wheel. Just join us. You don't have anything better to do anyways. The more, the merrier, right? And Yang held Mo Kishin's hand tighter. Right, Brother Mo? Wu Daming had helped her out a lot, and Yang sincerely wanted to show her gratitude. And Yang was far from naive. She knew Wu Daming would listen to Mo Chishin, and if Mo Chishin nodded in approval, Wu Daming would certainly stay. Mo Chishin nodded his head. Your sister-in-law is right. Wu Daming was about to say something else when Mo Chishin looked at him, his tone bland. Are you too busy? Wu Daming immediately changed his tune. No, not busy at all then. Sorry for intruding, sister-in-law. And Yang chuckled. You're not an outsider. Mo, why don't you go keep Daming company inside, while I catch the rabbit? The rabbit meat needed to be marinated in advance, so it would be flavorful during the barbecue. Wu Daming said, I want to walk around the village. Don't bother with me. Go about your business. That's fine too. Mo Chishin nodded. Just make sure to be back in time for dinner. His message was to stay away until it was dark. Wu Daming got the hint. Don't worry, brother and I'll be back soon. After saying this, he turned and left. And Yang and Mo Chishin went to catch the rabbit. There were 7 rabbits in total. They had slaughtered 2 when Li Yanran came last time, so they were now down to 5. Mo Chishin grabbed one of the fattest rabbits. Yang, what do you think about this one? No, and Yang shook her head. This one is about to become a mom. Hearing this, Mo Chishin carefully put the rabbit mother down and picked up another one. How about this one? This one is fine. And Yang nodded, then added, there will be lots of people tonight, Brother Mo. You should catch one more. All right. And Yang was not only adept at slaughtering ducks, but was also an expert at killing rabbits. In no time, 2 rabbits were evenly coated with various marinades. Apart from rabbit meat, and Yang had also prepared enoki mushrooms, baby cabbages, chili, lamb, eggplant, and vermicelli. At this time, barbecues were not yet as popular as they would become in later years, and skewers were not available in the countryside. So, and Yang and Mo Chishin went to the bamboo grove to cut some bamboo. Mo Chishin was very skilled with his hands, and Yang just described the shape of the skewers, and as he cut the bamboo, he also whittled the skewers for Yang. They were of uniform size, just like what you could buy on the street. And Yang marveled, Brother Mo, you're so skillful. Just so. The champion of the China's swordsmanship competition, Missouri Chishin modestly downplayed his prowess. After making the skewers, Mo Chishin sat in the yard and skewered the food, while Yang made the charcoal. Time passed second by second. In a blink of an eye, it was evening. By the time Chungue, and Wu Daming returned, and Yang had already prepared everything. The barbecue grill was long, and people could sit on both sides, allowing everyone to grill and eat at the same time. Although it was summer, the mountain breeze made everything pleasantly cool. Oh, Little Mo is here too. No wonder it's so lively today. And Chungue greeted Mo Chishin enthusiastically. And Mo Chishin stood up politely, and Chungue laughed. Little Mo, you don't need to be so formal with me. We're all family here, please sit. Finishing her sentence, she turned to Yang. Yang, what are we having tonight? Looking around, she didn't see any vegetables. Surely they weren't planning to feed them raw food? And Yang replied, and we're having a barbecue tonight. We'll be grilling and eating. Oh, and Chungue nodded, doubting in her heart whether grilling these seemingly dried-out potatoes and enoki mushrooms would actually taste good. As Yang grilled the vegetables, brushing them with oil and sprinkling chili powder and cumin powder. The sizzling of oil soon filled the air. It smelled so good. It made everyone salivate. Shortly after, Yang finished grilling a large batch of vegetables and served them to everyone. Delicious. Sister-in-law and you're incredible. Wu Daming wolfed down his food, as if he would even swallow his tongue if he could. And Chang'e quietly retracted her previous doubts. And Yang had also grilled a corn on the cob, especially for little Yun, who was nestled in Kuihua's arms, chewing blissfully on the corn. Despite being just shy of 1 year old, his teeth were already quite formidable. Chapter 442, Big Boss. I am a person who loves to idle away his time. Tell me one more time _4. Seeing everyone eating so contentedly made Yang very happy as well. She picked up the marinated bunny and began to roast its meat. Yang, you should have a bite too. Mo Chishan offered a strip of roasted potato slices to Yang's lips. Thank you. She opened her mouth and took a bite. Is it good? Mo Chishan asked. It's delicious. Yang nodded her head. Well then, let me have a taste. Mo Chishan opened his mouth and ate the remaining half slice of potato. Yang's face turned inexplicably red. She quickly lowered her gaze to others. Seeing that all eyes were not on them, she let out a sigh of relief and freed her hand to pinch Mo Chishan's waist. The sky above was illuminated with bright stars, and there was a lively atmosphere of joy in the small farmhouse below. Since that night, Mo Baichuan hadn't seen Li Xianxian for a week. At first, he thought Li Xianxian, like Yang, was playing hard to get with him, but now it seemed like she was truly intent on breaking up with him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have disappeared for a week. Thinking about this, Mo Baichuan felt a pang of guilt. After all, it was he who had taken Li Xianxian's innocence. In 1980s China, relationships between men and women were not that open, and women viewed their chastity as incredibly important. Tingji, what exactly happened that night? Mo Baichuan went to ask Li Ting, because Li Ting was the only one who knew what had transpired apart from Li Xianxian. Which night? Li Ting looked at Mo Baichuan, puzzled. It seemed like he had already forgotten about the birthday party. Mo Baichuan replied, the night of my birthday. Mentioning that night, a flash of pain crossed briefly beneath Li Ting's eyes. What about the night of your birthday? Everyone had a great time. Baichuan, what exactly do you want to ask? Mo Baichuan succinctly said, I just want to know why Li Xianxian was in my room when I woke up the next morning. Li Ting laughed and said, because you were holding on to her hand all night and didn't let her go, really? Mo Baichuan narrowed his eyes. Li Ting said frustratedly, do I seem so idle that I would lie to you? Li Xianxian and Li Ting had no actual relationship, so there was no need for him to lie for her. Li Ting continued, Baichuan, be honest with me. Did you sleep with her that night? Instead of answering directly, Mo Baichuan said, I broke up with her. Broke up? Li Ting was surprised. Why? Baichuan, that's not right. Xianxian is a girl. Things have happened, and you should take responsibility. Mo Baichuan replied very calmly. She was the one who wanted to break up first. Li Ting advised, Baichuan, Xianxian is an exceptional girl. I really hope you do not miss out on her, and step up to take on the responsibility of a man. Li Ting's expression was calm, but his heart was pounding. Had Li Xianxian broken up with Mo Baichuan because of him? Mo Baichuan lit a cigarette. Nowadays, we advocate for freedom and love. If she doesn't want to, I can't force her. Li Ting sighed, and a flicker of excitement appeared in his eyes. After leaving Mo Baichuan, Li Ting could hardly wait to find Li Xianxian. Xianxian, did you break up with Baichuan? Li Ting looked at Li Xianxian. Yes. Li Xianxian nodded. Xianxian, did you break up with him because of me? Li Ting asked excitedly. Li Xianxian bit her lip and then said, Tingji, I admit I did have a little interest in you, but I like Baichuan more. A heart can only love one person, so I'm sorry, Tingji. I want to marry Baichuan. Could you please help me again? When she said the last sentence, Li Xianxian held Li Ting's hand and looked deeply into his eyes. Li Ting looked at Li Xianxian, his eyes brimming with affection. He couldn't refuse Li Xianxian this way. As long as he knew she was even a little fond of him, he would be satisfied. In that moment, he was ready to go through hell and high water for her. All right, Li Ting nodded. Li Xianxian said gratefully, Tingji, thank you. I owe you in this life. In the next one, I will definitely marry you. Really? Li Ting looked up, surprised. He never expected Li Xianxian to be so deep and sincere. He had indeed chosen the right person to love. Chapter 443. Boss, I'm a person who loves to idle away his time. Help me one more time _5. For real. Li Xianxian stretched out her hand protectively around Li Tingji, whispering her plan into his ear. Li Tingzi's body stiffened, his face unreadable. After a long moment, he said, Don't worry, Xianxian. I will make sure you get to marry Mo Baichuan as you wish. News of Mo Baichuan's breakup with Li Xianxian quickly spread through their social circles. The person who was most delighted at hearing this news was none other than Zheng Xianjing. What made Li Xianxian believe she was fit to be with Mo Baichuan? What has you in such high spirits? Zheng Lingling came in from outside. Mom, I have great news. Mo Baichuan has broken up with Li Xianxian. Before Zheng Lingling, Zheng Xianjing never hid her ambitions because they were two peas in a pod. So what if they broke up? Surely there's nothing worth celebrating about that. Even without Mo Baichuan, there is still Song Beicheng. His family background is no worse than Mo Baichuan's. Moreover, I heard that Song family is about to get another promotion. By then, their power will be even greater. Zheng Lingling paused, then continued. So Xianjing, I advise you to focus your energy on Song Beicheng. He's the only heir of the Song family. Zheng Xianjing grinned. Mom, you're just seeing the surface. To me, 100 Song Beicheng would not compare to 1 Mo Baichuan. What's so great about the Song family's power? Could they be greater than Mr. Mod? Zheng Xianjing remained clear-headed. Zheng Lingling poked Zheng Xianjing's head in exasperation. What is with you? First Mo Qixin, now Mo Baichuan. Can't you just leave Mo family alone? Without pausing, Zheng Lingling continued. Though Mo Baichuan is indeed not bad, he is slightly inferior to his cousin, Song Beicheng. Zheng Xianjing laughed. Falling for a piece of waste in the past was a mistake of mine. But rest assured, I have a keen eye for the truth this time, and I will not make the same mistake again. Zheng Lingling, not being a fool herself, continued. Xianjing, are you hiding something from me? Zheng Xianjing looked as if she wanted to say something, but held back. Mom, if I tell you, you can't tell anyone else. Zheng Lingling rolled her eyes. Don't tell me you don't trust your own mother. Zheng Xianjing revealed her suspicions to Zheng Lingling. Zheng Lingling took a while to recover from the shock. Mr. Mog. It's Mr. Mog. She had not seen it coming. That Mr. Mog, so mysterious and unpredictable, was actually Mo Baichuan, whom she had watched grow up. Xianjing, are you certain you're not mistaken? Zheng Lingling questioned. Zheng Xianjing replied, I am sure. I initially thought Mr. Mog was the worthless Mo Qixin. That's why she left the rest unsaid. Zheng Lingling snorted. That useless person, Mo Qixin, isn't even worthy to shine Mr. Mog's shoes. Exactly, Zheng Xianjing sighed regretfully. I was so foolish to waste so much time on such a loser. I almost overlooked the real Mr. Mog. I was lucky to uncover the truth in time. Every time she thought about this, Zheng Xianjing felt extremely fortunate. Zheng Lingling continued. Baichuan has certainly played his cards close to his chest. Who can disagree? Zheng Xianjing nodded. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, who would have believed that he is Mr. Mog? Zheng Lingling frowned slightly, looking worried. Xianjing, I've heard rumors that Zhao Jingrong of the Zhao family has declared that she won't marry anyone but Mr. Mog. You will need to keep an eye on her, so she doesn't steal Baichuan away. The influence of the Zhao family in Beijing far exceeds that of the Mo family and the Zheng family. Otherwise, Zhao Jingrong wouldn't be so bold to ditch Mo Qixin at will. Moreover, Zhao Jingrong not only boasts a prestigious family background, but is also pretty and well-educated overseas. These exceptional attributes make her a force to be reckoned with. Zheng Xianjing laughed. Mom, you can rest easy. Zhao Jingrong still doesn't know that Mo Baichuan is Mr. Mog. And even if she did, Would Mo Baichuan marry someone who almost became his aunt through marriage with Mo Qixin? Even if Zhao Jingrong loses her dignity, the Mo family would still want to keep their face. Zhang Xianjing was not worried about Zhao Jingrong, as she had no upper hand at all in front of Mo Baichuan. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.